بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وسلم تسليما كثيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. إخوتي أخواتي, dear respected brothers and sisters, in behalf of our Muslim community here in the North Hudson Islamic Education Center, in behalf of its imams and its leadership, we are delighted to introduce to you tonight to a program, a very special program with a very special guest speaker who flew all the way from the West Coast, from California. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward her. She came all the way to the East Coast to meet with you tonight and to share with you some of the knowledge, the deep knowledge that she has about the theme or the topic that we will be discussing tonight and tomorrow, inshallah. Islamic roots in the Spanish culture and language, Latinos and Muslims united. These are the main themes of the program tonight and tomorrow, inshallah. But tonight will be the medium will be English, so she will be speaking in English, inshallah, for the entire program. And tomorrow she will be doing mainly Spanish, but again around the same theme. Once again, Jazakumullahu khairan for coming tonight, all of you. And inshallah we pray in dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make of this gathering tonight this a beautiful learning experience, inspirational for all of us. And I would like to give the microphone to my dear brother and Sheikh Imam Abu Sumayya Abdul Razak to introduce the speaker, because he was the one, along with Sister Wendy, who is, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless her, she is not, she couldn't come. They are the ones who actually highly recommended Dr. Maryam Saada, our guest speaker. Jazahumullahu khairan. So let's please welcome Brother Abu Sumayya as well, and listen to him to introduce Sister Dr. Maryam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Dr. Maryam Saada works as a professor, researcher, translator, worldwide speaker, and film screenwriter. She was born in Paris and is a polyglot: French, Arabic, English, Spanish, and speaks Portuguese, mashallah. She is a doctor in Spanish historical linguistics from the University of California in Los Angeles. She has a bachelor's and master's degree from California State University, Los Angeles. She loved Spanish so much that she dedicated her entire career to Spanish literature and philology, seeking a bridge between the Arab, Islamic, and Hispanic culture and civilization. She finished her postdoctorate in Mexico in 2016, where she examined Arab and Islamic documentary traces in colonial Mexico between 1570 and 1820 in 17 archives of the Mexican Republic. Now her book, Allah, Hashim, Christ, Spanish is Not So Spanish, from the Duncan Publishing House in Buenos Aires, is in press. She is also president of SIRA, Spanish Islamic Reliance of America, association that is dedicated to the education and development of Islam in Spanish-speaking countries. Dr. Maryam as well, which is not in her bio, mashallah, where I had the pleasure of meeting her, mashallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. She also holds a program of taking Spanish-speaking Muslims to Egypt, a program called WAG, under WAG, World Assembly of Azhar Graduates. And it is a 30-day intensive learning of all of the Islamic sciences, mashallah, there in Cairo at Al-Azhar, alhamdulillah. And I had the pleasure to meet her there, mashallah. I went under the group that she had brought. And mashallah, tabarak wa ta'ala, I also had the pleasure of, mashallah, seeing her presentation and the La Maravilla, alhamdulillah, the marvelous presentation that she gave, mashallah, regarding the topic that she's going to speak to you all about, and I'm sure that you're going to enjoy it. Without further ado, Dr. Maurice Alda.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to New Jersey. This is my first time. It is an honor to be here. I would like to, this is a beautiful place, so I would like to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this evening with knowledge and wisdom, and more than anything, inspiration. I'd like for us to be, I came all the way here to inspire you so that you can share the passion that I have. Thank you so much. She said I have a love for Spanish. It's a lot more than love, it's passion. Okay, so I love Spanish and I love Islam. So when you combine the two together, this is what you get. So I would like to start by sharing with you how all of this came together. Years ago, when I was a student of Spanish, I had no idea that there was this Islamic connection. It's not something I was taught. It's not something I was given per se in Spanish history classes or civilization or culture. I felt that there is similarities, but I couldn't like put my hand on it. You know, like I could put my finger. I don't know what it is, but there is. One of the biggest surprises I had later on is to find out that the term Moor or Moros, right, had something to do with Muslims. So this was just an eye-opening kind of thing. Then after that, when I began the PhD program, I was asked to examine the connection between Arabic language and Spanish language. And I frankly didn't want to do that kind of work. I didn't feel like I was a Spanish student, so I can compare with Arabic. But because I knew Arabic and because I could do something different, I said, I'm going to try to find the connection between the Arabic language and the Spanish language. So the first quest I had was, the first question that started this entire research was, why does Spanish have between 4,000 and 10,000 words that come from Arabic language? Why is it the language that influenced Spanish the most? That was my first question as a linguist. And from there, I think one day I asked another question that took me onto this entire journey. And the question was, it's not what words were mentioned, but who. When I started asking who is it that spoke those languages and how did those speakers exist or not exist, or how did they do this language borrowing, language shift, language bilingualism, however you want to call it. I really asked those big questions. And the who got me to all of the things I will share with you tonight. So I start by asking the question, why do we need to look back? The Quran tells us in Surah 40, verse 82, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أفلم يسيروا في الأرض فينظروا كيف كان عاقبة الذين من قبلهم. So looking back is actually important, because looking back in history is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us in a rhetorical question to see if we will reflect and perhaps learn from it, because there are specific patterns that once we get to see those patterns, we kind of it's a little bit scary, but you can predict what's coming next. So if you understand the pattern, you really know what's next. And there is something to it. So my research has different angles. So yes, I am a linguist, but I do anthropological linguistics. So I do how language is preserved or dies, or how speakers lose it or gain it. That's kind of the research. But I also do historical linguistics. That means I specialize in 16th and 17th century Spanish, not any Spanish. I specialize in ancient language. And the ancient language is those centuries, right? And I'll share with you why. Then there's also politics involved, because it's not just language. Language comes with identity, comes with politics, comes with ruling, shifts, laws, etc. And then there is religion involved, because I do work that has to do with the process of Arabization, which is learning Arabic and becoming Arabized, but also Islamization, which is how somebody becomes Muslim. So I'll share with you all these terms. And then finally, literary, because I analyze the texts that I study, so I have to analyze them from a literary perspective and sometimes from a linguistic perspective, which is understanding the terms. Then finally, the archival primary sources that I go touch and feel and smell and ask the documents, what are you trying to tell me? What am I supposed to learn from seeing those documents? So the things I would like to touch upon tonight are the legacies, or the things that were left for us, especially when I say us, the focus group that I target this conversation to tonight is, you know, the ones that see that there's a connection between Islam and the Spanish culture, right? Civilization. What is it? Is it the historical legacy? Then I want to share with you some manuscripts and documents. I also want to talk to you about linguistic heritage, cultural aspects, architectural connections, and artistic musical affinity. So without ado, let's dive into history. I have put together this timeline, but I also want to reinterpret this timeline tonight. So the timeline starts with, I really began by a migration of the Prophet ﷺ from Mecca to Medina. And I asked myself the question, how is it possible that we move from Mecca to Medina, we create a model in Medina, and then that model is like replicated and duplicated in different parts of the world, right? And how did it end up in Cordoba in Spain? Like, how is that model transfer over? So very quickly, you know, 622 is the migration, and you have 711. You have the Muslims arriving in Spain, right? And then you have the big questions that are asked when they arrive in Spain. Is it a conquista, or is it an expansion? Is it they get invited or they force themselves in? Who do you listen to if you read the Christian Chronicles or you read the Muslim Chronicles? And I want to share with you something tonight, since the audience is, you know, a lot of you are Muslim, alhamdulillah. There is some kind of like, I don't know if the word is romanticizing a little bit this part of Islamic history, making everything look perfect or making everything look imperfect. It's neither this nor that, it's something in between, and it shifts. So there is like good times, bad, it's like a real life kind of thing, you know? Sometimes things are going well and sometimes they're not going well, sometimes they improve and then sometimes they get worse. And it's a constant shift, and you can't really put it into a category of, yes, it's, you know, one way or another. You have to really be open-minded, okay? So from the year 711 until the year 1492, those are the years that I call political presence of, or political control of the Iberian Peninsula. When Muslims show political control, they're in power. They have leaders in power. They have, so there's a governor and subordinates in power. With or without territories. So sometimes it's bigger territories, smaller, they shrink, they enlarge, depending on the time period. But overall, we can say 781. People really like to simplify and say Muslims were Spain for 800 years. It's a lot more than 800 years that I'm going to share with. It's more. So if you actually, those are the dates of political control, right? So then after that, through government documents, we know that there is a Muslim expulsion, a physical Muslim expulsion between 1609 and 1614. So if you add the numbers together, those are 122 years more. So you have 781 plus 122. So you really, and then during that time, between 1492 to 1614, then the Spaniards arrive in, Mexico. And the reason why I chose Mexico is because I'm going to show you my research later. So 1519, actually I just came back from Mexico City yesterday. I was presenting, there was something called El Quinto Centenario, the 500th anniversary of Hernán Cortés conquering Tenochtitlan. So they're talking about what happened there, the cross of cultures. So yes, this year is a big year because this is the 500th anniversary of, the basically New Spain creation, or Hernán Cortés arriving in Mexico City. So if you add the numbers together, you have 903 years of Spanish Islam, which is close to 1,000 years. That's a bigger number and it's much more intense. But if you look at it in the big picture, like if you look at it in a bigger picture, 711 all the way to early modern period, and then the Spanish Inquisition, I put it right here, ends in 1824-25. So we're going to talk about that, but I want you to think about how many years. The Inquisition starts in the 1400s and lasts all the way to the 1820s. And I'm going to share with you what it does and why this is an important date. Okay, but remember those dates. I'm going to quiz you later on, so please take notes. 7-Eleven is like the store. Do you guys have here in New Jersey 7-Eleven? Okay, so you won't forget that one. That's good. 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. You're not going to forget that one, right? Yes? So 1492, three things happen. Columbus arrives to, what he thinks is India. And the Jews are expelled from Spain. And then Granada is confiscated or lost by the Muslims, right? So here we go, 1492. This is a very interesting painting. I like to always stop and ponder when I present this painting, because the painting was done in the 1800s of something that happened in the 1400s. So the painter has never seen the scene, but this is his from imaginary understanding of what happened in 1492. And according to this painting, there is a prince on the left, on the black horse, and he's holding a key of the city of Granada. His name in Spanish would be Boabdil, and in Arabic would be Muhammad, the little, or the small. And on the right, you have a queen on the white horse, and her name is Isabella Católica. And then you have a king on the brown horse, wearing red, and he's Fernando de Aragon. And behind him, there is a priest with a black hoodie, and he is Cardinal Cisneros. No, so these are the important characters in this painting. What's very interesting about the painting is the size. I want you to notice the size on the right compared to the left, so you could see from the size already what's going on, right? So you see from the size, you can understand immediately. Oh my God, the Christian side was a lot bigger in number and more mighty and more powerful than the Muslim side, right? This is the first element. Also, if you think from Christian ideology, right is righteous and left is evil. So the people on the left are the evil people, and the people on the right are the righteous people. If you also think racism, a white horse is positive, black horse is negative. So if you look at color, so if you check color, if you check size, if you check position, all of this means something. It means something for the people of the time. Paintings in the 1900s represent today's media. This is the media and talking to the people about what they should believe happened. So from the understanding here is you have a very small side that's shrinking, and it's evil, and it's on the left, and it's going away. And you can see the ground underneath is dry. The other side is green tree, prosperous, growing. So one is prospering, one is shrinking, and that's the understanding. Why is this relevant? Why is this relevant? Because if you search in Spanish-speaking countries, the history of Muslim Spain, it will be presented in maybe 2 paragraphs, and if you're lucky, 2 pages. The entire history, those 903, or the 781. Whatever numbers that I showed you earlier, they shrink to 2 paragraphs. Because the painting shows you 2 paragraphs. They're irrelevant. They're the people who came from North Africa. They were vacationing for 800 years, and then they left. I mean, it's just an extended vacation. They had an extended stay, and then they packed their bags, they got bored, and they just took off. They just didn't want to be here anymore. And everyone accepts it because it sits very well with collective memory, and it sits very well with consciousness. There is no remorse. Nobody feels bad. There was a North African people who came, then they went back to North Africa. End of story. They left a little bit of buildings here, some constructions there, some books here, some things there, 4,000, 10,000 words, and they took off. Like, as simple as that. Yeah? I wanted to dive a little more into this reality. So of course, I'm looking at the conquered side, right? and conquer. And the narrative and the research and the readings that you get most likely will come from the conqueror side. So this is, the perspective is going to always be on from this end. So you won't hear much about what, and then if you look at it from the Muslim perspective, it's like this over exaggeration of, fantasy of what Al-Andalus was, like this, and it's always with sadness. There's a lot of emotional feeling connected to it, but how about reality? Not emotional connection, but like how about, do we have a reality check? What can we take out of this experience? Especially today, it's very relevant in 2019, extremely relevant. And then after that, 1492, this Al-Andalus term is replaced by no longer in use as a geographic peninsular term, but there's a region in Spain in the south called Andalusia, but just it's a small region, like a geographical region, but it's called España or Spain after that, no? So what happens after 1492? Well, you have what they call la corona, no? La corona española, which is like the crown, merging of two crowns of Aragon and Castilla. Castilla was the bigger crown, Isabella was the queen, and therefore it was a very interesting marriage agreement, because then it was an increase in territory, and at the same time it was making sure that the queen is not running all of this by herself, So she was, I believe, 16 years old, 16, 17 at the time. Anyhow, so the faith was if you want to say, the glue to all these regions in Spain. So speaking of Spain as one entity is very odd, because Spain is made of regions, and every region has its own language today, not past tense, today. So speaking of Spain as one entity is kind of odd. The Catalan have Catalunya, no? And then you have the País Vasco, they speak Euskera, and then you have Asturiano, Leonés, Everyone speaks their own language, their own culture, but Spanish is the official language, right? So there's a difference. It's official language, Spanish is synonymous with Castellano, and Castellano is the language of Castilla. So you have Castilla, which is the big region. I told you earlier, I do interdisciplinary. So language is not innocent. Language is politics. Whoever wins in the battlefield imposes his language. So if Castilla is the bigger region and it's the more prominent, then the Castellano is the one. If Aragon was bigger and more powerful, then everybody in Latin America would be speaking Catalan. That's how it works. Language is power. Language is not an innocent thing, right? So language is politics. They go together. And it's identity. So language is identity and politics. It's three things coming together to represent what language is. So now there's one language of the Castellano, and then there's one race. You can't be a mixed race. And what that means is people went through a process called limpieza de sangre, or cleansing of the blood. You have to have a certificate to prove that for 3 generations there's no Muslim or Jewish blood in you. So how do you prove Muslim blood? And how do you prove a Jewish blood? And how do you prove? Well, you buy it from the church. So money buys position and blood cleansing. That's how you buy that position, right? So this one nation, one identity. So one identity. Now they started labeling. And this is very important for us today, Muslims. We get labeled all the time, we get the labeling. Today, 2019, or, not too long ago, we're always just labeling. I am not what but labeling by somebody else. It's not like you don't create your own label. You don't walk around calling yourself, what is it, towel head, or I'm not sure what the labels are, but whatever label out there, you know what I'm talking about, right? So whatever label is out there, we don't self-identify with those labels. We don't walk around creating them and then promoting them. Hey, call me, the towel head lady, right? Don't do that to me. But but labels are created, and they're created for power reasons. So people who create the labels, they're very intentional, and and again, they're power relations. So who creates the label? It's the one who wants to put you in a specific spot. Well, here the labels are, I'm going to share with you. So after 1492, it's a key time. I'm going to talk to you tonight about something called turning points. There are turning points in history. And why am I stopping here? Because if Arabic, which was a language of the peninsula, was the winning language, Latin America would be speaking Arabic. So language is not innocent. Language, power, it's not innocent. Language comes with a lot of things to it, right? But so the turning point here is we have what they call the end of medieval time. Well, it was very interesting. Medieval time ends with the end of Spain. Like 1492 is the end of medieval, beginning of early modern. Like who makes those early modern? Like who labels history? Who calls history what it is? You know, it's like, so Spanish history begins with early modern. Everything before that is like a blank in space, right? The Conquista de America and the Reconquista. Those are the two times that you commemorate something important, right, in the history. So, right before the fall of Granada, there was something called capitulaciones. Capitulaciones were signed documents, like a treaty between Granada and the Muslims and the Christians, Isabel and Fernando. And the treaty was very long, about everything you can imagine, from let's preserve the mosque, to let's preserve how people get married the Muslim way, to the educational system, to like everything. Who pays tribute to who, everything was in that treaty. But that treaty did not last long. Quickly after that shift, and Boabdil or Muhammad the Little thinking he's making a treaty and he's going to be the new king under the Christian kings and queens. But of course, I don't want to bring you to contemporary time, but if you think you're going to be a king under somebody else's kingdom by giving away your kingdom, I don't know what you're thinking really, but that's not the topic of our tonight conversation. Just want to like anecdote. I'm sorry. Sometimes I am joking, but like it's serious. Anyways, sarcastic jokes or whatever, however you want to understand them. But so in the year 1501. One of the things in the treaty that was mentioned was the preservation of the Muslim identity by paying tribute to the Christian king and queen. Well, that was violated, and everyone had to be baptized. So 1501 was mass baptism, and with that, they created two labels in society. One is called Morisco, and the other one is called Converso. And I'm going to take you down labeling and stereotyping. It's very odd, but because after 9/11, Muslims were being labeled all the time, right? And everything I was studying in history about labeling and how it's created, I was watching it. Like, it was live. Live. First, you can't trust them, right? The lack of trust. You can't trust a Muslim. They're not one of us. They're like, they call them in Spanish, la quinta columna. Like you can't trust them. They work for other people. They're not working for us. I don't know who they're working for. The other, right? So the process, the creation of this othering starts with, and then after that, after the mistrust is fear. Oh, they're scary. I'm scared of them. Are you scared of them? I'm scared of them. Are you scared of them? I'm scared of them. You start creating the fear discourse. Then after fear, we don't want them, right? Do you want them? I don't want them. Do you want them? No, I don't want. This, and then you can talk about elimination. So elimination, you don't just hop into elimination right away and say, oh, we don't want them here. Let's, No, it starts with, it's a process. It's a gradual psychological process. It's very well done here and there, and now and then, So they did the same thing, because how can you take citizens that used to be your neighbor yesterday, you know them for, I don't know, they've been here for, 900 years. They haven't been here for, it's an extended stay, They've been here for an extended stay, but you know them very well. You know everything about them. They're not really scary to you because you buy their stuff, you do business with them, you have, you know them. But all of a sudden, you don't know them. One day, you wake up, I don't know these people. Who are them? You trust them? I don't trust them. You trust them? Oh, no, I don't trust them. Oh, okay, you know what? I'm scared of them. Are you scared? I'm scared. Okay, let's do this. Maybe we don't need them here. Should we get rid of them? Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I don't feel bad. Do you feel bad? I don't feel bad. Okay, let's end it. You know, so this process is really interesting because it's conscious. In your conscious, you don't have guilt attached when you create it this way. Because otherwise, if it's the neighbor next door that's my friend and I eat with them and I go to school with them and I love them and they love me and they come to my house and I go to their house, then it's a problem. But if you go through that gradual shift, then elimination is not a difficult understanding. So from Spain, we have New Spain, and I wanted to share with you the map of New Spain so we can understand what's going on here. So New Spain is, you know, like Jersey, New Jersey? York and New York. So this is the new one. The New Spain is south of United States, what is today Mexico, Central America, including Guatemala, all the way to the Philippines. This entire region is called the New Spain. And it's governed in Mexico City. So Mexico City is like the control, the stick shift of the entire region. Okay? So now, I want you to remember that, okay? So now I want to talk about what I decided to focus on. Remember the painting, right? And what I tried to share with you earlier? So, okay, so with that painting, I wanted to do a zoom in. Do you see the zoom? The picture looks different, right? When you zoom in, all of a sudden you see other things you didn't see before, right? Do you agree? You see somebody on the man on the left all the way, looking down, right? The older man with a beard looking down, the turban. Do you see the turban? Yes, you see it. Okay. All of a sudden you see a black man behind the horse, right? And compare him to the white man standing next to the other horse, right? The posture. One is standing super proud, you know, here I am, and the other one is like, you know, kneeling and bowing and, you know, humiliated and, okay? And then do you see the key? Do you see the key now? Well, there was no key given of the city. There was a wall, people resisted, stayed a long time in resistance. They were hungry, they had to open the doors. There was no, here's the key to my house, you know, I don't want to be in the palace. You see that palace up there? I'm sick and tired, I got bored of it. I'll give you the key, you can enjoy it, and I'll just take a hike. It doesn't work this way. You know, it didn't really work this way. But again, this is the painting and the media of the time. Because if you see this, you don't feel bad. He gave us the key and he walked away. The guy didn't want the palace. You feel bad about it? I don't feel bad. Do you feel bad? I mean, my conscience is clear. I didn't have to rob anybody. I didn't steal anyone. I didn't take anybody's stuff. He gave me the key and he left. That's it. So then there is the labeling. What's very interesting, there's an article I published in Mexico City called The Politics of Unnaming of Muslims in New Spain. Well, this is Spain, right? So the politics of unnaming is you purposely do not want to mention them, because if you mention them, they exist. If you do not mention them, they never existed. So if you call them Moro, like I'll tell you, Moro, Mudechar, Morisco. The only thing that's Muslim in all of this is the part. That's it. The only common denominator is the M sound, right? Everything else, you don't know they're Muslims. So how are those terms used? When the Muslims are in political control, they're called Moros. The Moro is a geographical term. It means, and the Romans used to call North Africa Mauritania or Mauro. So from Mauro comes Moro. So it's a geographic term. The guys who crossed over from Gibraltar, North Africans, they're the Moros. So it's like a geographical term. People use it as synonymous with Muslim, but it's really not Muslim, because they have the word Musulman. It exists, but we're not going to use it. We're not going to use it. The next term is when Muslims start losing land and territory in Spain, in the Iberian Peninsula, and they were living under Christian kings. Now the jizya system changed. Jizya is like a tax. So instead of the Christians paying or the Jews paying a specific tax to the Muslim king and queen to the Muslims in return of political protection or for political protection, you know, territory, business and stuff, now the Muslims were paying a tax to the Christian king and queen in return for religious freedom. I pay to preserve my mosque. I pay to preserve my Islamic ruling in marriage and burial and all that stuff. All the internal Sharia stuff. to be able to do, they used to call it al-khama, right? Al-jama'a or al-khama. So for you to preserve your rules of when I'm born, it's this way, and death is this way, and marriage ceremony is this way, you know, the internal stuff, they had to pay that tax. And they did, they paid it. So other Muslims who were outside of those territories, they used to call them chicken and cowards. So mudekhar means in Arabic mudajjan, or dawajan, chicken, domesticated, cowards. So today, in the Spanish civilized culture, to understand Islamic art, they call it arte mudekhar. They never call it Islamic art. And the architecture is called mudekhar architecture. So it's the art of the coward or architecture of the chicken. Nobody knows that mudekhar is Muslim, but you know what I mean? It's M for Muslim. And if that term was derogatory, well, it's not that bad, because then Morisco comes in after 1501. It's an invented term. Again, invented. Who invents terms and who's labeling who? Remember, who's doing that work? So the Morisco means ex-Muslim. Somebody who used to be Muslim, but now they're baptized. So ex-Musulman, it would be a Morisco, right? Forced to be, now they cannot pay to get their religious freedom. They used to be able to pay when they're mudekhares, but now they can't even do that. Hey, take my money, take all my money, but I want to be Muslim. No, you can't. Sorry, I don't want your money, but I want your soul. So now you're not gonna, I'm sorry, you can't pay in return for your, you know, like a tax. You can't do that taxation anymore. So Isco is small, or like little, so little Muslim or little Moro, which is somebody marginalized, has no space in society. So little is not little in size, but little in like place in society, like marginalized kind of thing. Okay, so this is what's happening in the west of the Muslim empire. In the east, the Ottoman Turks are on the rise, right? So you have a conquest, you have the fall of Constantinople in 1453. I'm back a little bit, so 1492, this is 1453. And I'm going to connect east and west, and I'm going to bring you to there's like a dialogue between empires. So you have the Muslims are in the east and in the west, right? So they lost a lot of things, but the Turks brought back the pride through the fall of Constantinople, right? Wow, the Eastern Roman Empire fell in the hands of Muslims. Oh my goodness, we're not doing bad. Actually, no, we're doing horrible. No, we're doing fantastic. Look at us. We're doing great. We have the Eastern Roman Empire. No, but like the Muslims, they just lost Granada, or they're about to lose Granada, right? This is right before. But it doesn't matter, because look, the Ottoman Turks are right here on the rise, right? So it's like, this is a big boost of, like, if you wish, Muslim self-esteem, right? Are you with me? A big boost of self-esteem. You can see it in the paintings, and you can see it in, you know, the posture. Again, I showed you the media of the, you know, the time and the positions of the horses, the posture. Well, what does it mean for Europe? The fall of the Eastern Roman Empire. What does it mean for the entire, what does it mean for Rome, for the Western Roman Empire? Because, hey, wait a minute, the Roman Empire was split into two. Where the Muslim expanded a lot would be in the eastern part, you know, all the you know, what is it, the Middle East? I don't like these terms, but I'm going to use them. You know, the Middle East today, you know, right, North Africa. This was like the Eastern Roman Empire. And then you have the Western Roman Empire is now in panic mode. The Turks took the East. So now they're going to take the West. Because you know there's a hadith, you know, there's the hadith of this القسطنطينية and the Rum. And there's the surah, the Romans, right? The surah in the Quran, غلبت الروم في أدنى الأرض. You're gonna, like, you know, the Romans will lose. So, oh my God, if the Quran says it, then these guys are coming. You know. So, what does it mean for Europe? Well, I want to take this case. I used to think it was the only case, the Hagia Sophia case, but there's other cathedrals or churches that were converted to mosques. But here, with the fall of the Eastern Roman Empire, the central location of the mega church, you know, the most important church, if you wish, in Christendom in the eastern part, became a mosque. I'm not going to go in details about acquisition of this place or the conversion, but I will just want to show this concept of a church turning into a mosque. and what it means. So this Byzantine, it's like this, you got Byzantine art, and now it's a masjid. Well, in Spain, it got translated like that. Cisneros understood what happened in the East as all, he answered, like he was this, like, okay, you guys did that to this church, no problem. Every single mosque in Spain will turn to a church, no problem. We lost one, you're gonna lose all the others. So 1 to, I don't know, 100,000, whatever the number was. You're happy you got that one? No problem. All the others are gone. Yeah, so there's a discussion, there's like this hidden dialogue between East and West, right? So, oh, you're very happy about what's going on in the East? Yeah, they got it, they took it, and now it's a mosque? Fantastic. Okay, this is payback time, you know? So, building conversion, I talked to you first about people conversion, right? Mass baptism, right? 1501 with the labeling. But now there's building conversion, so you have, you know, this is the Great Mosque of Cordoba. Mosque, church, cathedral, right? This is Sevilla, right here. What's left of the mosque is the minaret. And what's important about the minaret is there's a square-shaped minaret. It's Umayyad-style minaret. And it's very much mimicked in Latin America. That kind of square-shaped tower minaret is like the stamp of architecture in Latin America as well. It's not round. It's not a hexagon. It's a square-shaped minaret. Start noticing these things, okay? Of course, the influence of Damascus is very, you know, you can see on architecture and such. So now this is, they started preserving the name, right? They call it Mesquita Iglesia, and then it's Cristo de la Luz. By the way, this is my favorite place in Spain. If you have never been to that place, please go. This is like the Kaaba. It's like a square-shaped mosque, and I felt like I was inside the Kaaba when I walked in. It's gorgeous, and it's preserved. It's really, really nice. It's very small, very secluded. It's like La Mesquita del Barrio, if you wish, you know, like a little mosque down. But it's very spiritual. I did the adhan there. I love it. It's really nice. Acoustics is fantastic. I encourage everybody to go. The people are super nice in Toledo. I really like it. So do not go to Toledo and not visit Cristo de la Luz. There's a myth, there's a story about Cristo de la Luz that the prince was coming down the hill after they took the Muslim the city from the Muslims, and then he, is it time? Oh no, okay. Thank you so much. No? Okay, that's okay. Okay. So as he was going down, his horse kneeled in front of that mosque, and when he went inside, he felt like this has to be a church. When I was sitting there, actually I prayed inside this mosque. When I was sitting there and praying, it's a church, right? It's a mosque church. A group of tourists, about 60, no, it's not used as a mosque. I prayed. I saw the Qibla, I couldn't handle it, you know? It's like I had to do something. I felt like the ground didn't get anybody praying in about, I don't know, 500 years. I felt like maybe that's me. Maybe I'm the next one. After 500 years, I felt like they need somebody. But anyhow, when a group of tourists walk in, and the tour guide, you know, in Spanish, he's explaining to people how they got the mosque. He said, do you know, those Muslims stopped praying in here, and the place was abandoned, so we felt so bad, and we decided to convert it to a church. Because nobody wanted to come and pray in it, and it was so beautiful. Look at this, check it, this, how beautiful, and he's explaining it. He's explaining Islamic art to the crowd, and like, oh my God, these guys don't want to pray? Like, this is a nice place, you know? And I was praying like right before, right? It was like, doesn't make any sense. But I was like, I turned around and I told him, this is not going to work. This is not going to fly. You can't just tell the tourists that these guys abandoned their mosques, and that's why they're converted to church. How about the policies of Cisneros, and I give it to him, right? How about Cisneros taking over every single mosque, converting it to a church? Are you going to actually tell them this? He's like, well, they don't need to know that. You know too much. You know too much. He was so upset. He didn't want me to talk to the tourists. He's like, let's go. We need to see other things. He was not happy about it. It's like 60 people being deceived by this amazing explanation of how Muslims abandon their places of worship. So this is another one also in Toledo. It's called Mesquita Iglesia del Salvador. What's interesting is the altar is in the position of the Kaaba. So it's always, there's a mihrab behind the altar. So if you walk in, you can actually like pray. It says this is, you go in from the back, and the lines of the prayer would be lined up with the benches as you sit down. There's another one called Mezquita Iglesia de Nuestra Señora de Granada, no? And so on, and there's a lot of them. Some are like preserved today, and some are no longer, you cannot tell. But you can mostly tell by, so for example, you know, I have an app in my phone, the how Muslim are you in your phone? So I have an app that tells me where the Qibla is. You guys have the app? Okay, so I get this app and I open it every place I go to check the Qibla. So if I am in a church, I actually open up the app to see if it's in direction of Mecca. And that's how I know if it was previously a mosque or not. Because they don't change the entry and exit. They keep it in the same direction and position on the street. So you can really tell if this was a mosque before, even if you don't see architecturally that it was. But every single one was transformed. We are praying at 8 o'clock, correct? Okay, sure.
It's Isha time, correct? Ikhwani? Just to confirm, I'm just confirming this. Is it Isha time now? Yes, it is, 7:18. So let's raise the adhan. Inshallah, and we will pray at 8. Bi-idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Samir? Should we make the adhan here, akhi, or there? Doesn't matter? بسم الله الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت سيدنا محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعث اللهم المقام المحمود الذي وعدت إنك لا تخلف الميعاد. تفضل يا دكتور مريم.
So I left you with this image, and I hope you were looking at it and pondering what it means. So this image right here, it has, what they call the life cycle of a kingdom, right? And what's interesting about Spain is it took a full cycle, right, from beginning to end. It took the beginning. Actually, the beginning was very quick. 7 years, the entire Iberian Peninsula became part of, it was under the control of Muslims. And then it became, when the top would be the caliphate. When it became independent. I did not share with you that it was part of the, Umayyad dynasty in the east, and they separated. They formed their own caliphate. So there was an Abbasi caliphate in the east and an Umayyad in the west. There were two khalifas at the same time. And they were like, historical. There's a lot of stuff there too. But they formed the caliphate. And then this caliphate fell apart and split into 22 countries, little countries with a president and an army and, internal divisions. And then those internal divisions led to, slowly but surely the Christian North start taking one after the other, even turning against each other, using the Christians to help them out against the others. And you could say the pie was eaten the pie was eaten this way. It took 400 years to rise and reach the peak. I mean, let's simplify the numbers to 800. Remember, it was 781 to be exact, right? So to simplify 800, it took 400 to rise, but also, they're very fair and square. It takes 400 to decline. So this rise was not overnight. And the loss was not overnight. It's not like, once they split and they gone and the whole thing is, no, it's not. It took 400 years. That's a long time. And it would not happen without something called El Camino de Santiago. El Camino de Santiago is the Hajj created in France and still happens until today. The walk to Santiago or the road to Santiago or the Camino de Santiago, however you want to call it, it's the road to Santiago. So that Camino, you stop, and it's a remembrance of, it's picking up soldiers as you go and creating this movement to go south and take Muslim territory. It was 400 years of walking to be able to take it, right? So this, to protect the rest of Europe. So this was to protect France from getting Muslims going up north. So that walk became like that. And also, there's an Orden de Cluny, if anybody knows the religious order, where priests in the past, before that, used to be just religious men dedicated to helping the people. After Cluny, they became like warriors and more like crusade kind of feeling, and being blessed to go fight the enemy, which is the Muslim. Santiago in Spanish is St. James in English, and Santiago in Spanish, his nickname is Matamoros, which is the killer of Muslims. So in the battlefield, the Muslims would say Allahu Akbar and the Christians would say Santiago. So Santiago is the symbol for, fighting Islam and Muslims, right? And in Peru, for example, Santiago is Mata Indios. So he's the killer of Indians, right? So he changes identity depending on where he goes. What's interesting about Santiago is from the 1st century, Christianity. He's never part of really like 700, they found the rest of his bones in Spain, and they built a church on the rest of his bones, as though the rest were carried from Jerusalem, the holy city, went to Spain in the city of Compostela, and Santiago de Compostela is the place where they built that church, but the focus of that church is really to take on the Muslim Spain this way, over 400 years of walking. And why am I mentioning this? Is because this is the root of Islamophobia. Islamophobia is not a contemporary term. Islamophobia is not something created because of 9/11. Islamophobia comes from the Camino de Santiago. It's a medieval concept. It was created by 400 years of walking to hate the Muslims. You have to hate them to eliminate them. You have to hate them to get their stuff and feel good about the process of transfer of your stuff is now my stuff. But I have to legitimize what I'm doing, because as a Christian, I can't be a robber You know, I don't think that's the message of Jesus. So I have to find a way to like make things, you know, sit nicely and at ease. So the best way I do that is Santiago, because Santiago then becomes a saint that I'm serving by doing this work. Now I have to justify my actions somehow and sleep at night and feel good about it. All of this happens under that blanket or that, you know, Santiago de Compostela concept. Well, now we have this, the Moro is declining in the West. So the Moro is falling right here. And you have a Turco is rising. So now in Latin America, the new enemy is not El Moro anymore, it's El Turco. So if there's countries where the Turco is synonymous with Muslim, right? So if you say, I'm Muslim, they, oh, eres Turco? I'm like, no, I'm not Turco, soy musulman. So why are you calling me Turco? Here it is, because El Turco is the next enemy after El Moro. Well, if you have to remove an enemy and create another, and get another enemy. You can't just have no enemies, you know, you have to be somebody. So if it's not El Moro, then you substitute it by Turco, right? And you have to know this history because I'm going to take you down with me to the archives to see how this is all relevant, okay? So 1501, we talked about this forced baptism and the creation of this, you know, this new identity of, this is the interior of the Cathedral of Granada. You have the Muslim women getting baptized, right? And this is actually from the inside of the cathedral. When you walk in, there is a nice big, they call it in Spanish, a retablo, no? Like a big retablo with like all these, even there's a Jesus flying and feet of Jesus. I mean, it's very interesting. Please go see that retablo. It's one of like my favorites. like hanging feet and stuff, really interesting. But anyhow, sorry, I'm not trying to make fun of it, but like, it is interesting. It is, yeah. So, but anyway, in that inside they show you the conversión de los moriscos, or how they were, you know, baptized in that place, and the creation of that term. Well, something happened after 1501, because I don't care if my leader is gone, and he was Muslim and I was Muslim, but my ruler is out of the place. Ruler doesn't mean I'm going to be changing my religion based on my ruler. I have an identity here. I mean, I have my own beliefs. This is my own faith. You're not going to tell me what to believe in, right? So I don't care if my ruler gave or did not give a key, walked out or was kicked out. That's none of my business. My business is I have a relationship with God, right? And not because I am baptized, that means that's it. You put some water on me, that's it. My belief has changed. I go home, all of a sudden I don't believe in what I believe in anymore. It doesn't work this way. So people resisted. So I'm going to talk to you about the process of resistance. And so resistance is a term, one of the ways of resistance is crypto-Islam, or like hiding Islam, right? Doing it underground or hiding it. That was like one of the resistance mode. In Latin America, the Morisco also exists, but it's really interesting because Morisco is a racial term. So they call it de negro y española sale mulato. This is funny. This is funny. You know, the racial mixing. Okay, this is a very good exercise. So basically, the Spaniards created a term for every combo that is possible under the sun. So then if you were, there's one that's funny called salta para atrás. Does anyone know the salta para atrás? Okay, like you go backwards. You're going. So the mixes between the races are the following. You're either a Spanish race, I don't know what that is, but that's Spanish race, African, indigenous, to which level, and depending on the mixing and who's marrying who and who's mixed with who. But anyways, they call this the estructura de casta or el cuadro de las castas. Here it is. So if you're Spanish with Indian, you're mestizo. Everybody knows mestizo. This is the easy one. Yeah, I got that one. That's the easy one. Well, mestizo in Spanish, you're castizo. And if you're castizo with Spanish, you're español. All of a sudden, if you get the castizo with español, you become español. That's how you get to be Spanish. And if you want to be española with negro, you get mulatto, right? People know mulatto too, right? Español and mulatto get the morisco. So I wanted to know if Morisco is Muslim or Morisco is race, or what is Morisco under these guys' terminology, right? Español and Morisco, now Español marries Moriscos, and they get it, the child is called albino. Now Español with albino, torna atrás. Indio, torna atrás, lobo. Lobo indio, zambazo. Zambazo indio, cambujo. Cambujo mulato, albarazado. Albarazado y mulato, barcino, barcino y mulato, coyote. I'm not sure coyote is an animal. I'm not sure. Don't ask me how it jumped in here. Somehow there's a coyote. It's a coyote, right? Coyote and indio is chamizo. Chamizo and mestizo is coyote mestizo. You find yourself. You find yourself. Who are you? Go find yourself. I don't know who you are, but you're one of those guys. But what's funny is Español is part of a lot of them, right? You see, Español, and then somehow Castizo and Español remains Español. Like they don't lose, the Castizo doesn't do anything to the Español part of it. You know, like it's just very interesting mixing. But of course, I was focused on the one that I highlighted here to find out the. So here it is: who marries who gets who, right? More in details. This is racial profiling. This is racism central, right? This is racial profiling to figure out who you are and find yourself in that chart. That's if you can find yourself. If you know who you are, because I don't know who you are. Anyways, and based on the racial profiling, you are or you are not part of the society. You rise and fall in social strata based on who you are. So if you're negro, you're under indio. And if you're indio, you're under mestizo and mulato and zambos. And if you're criollo, which is a mix between Spanish and indigenous, you're a little bit higher, but then if you're Spanish, you get all the other positions on top. Basically, the white man rules, everybody's below. Do you get it? Are you with me? Do you see it? Or I don't know if you see it, right? It's a white Eurocentral vision of how you understand society. But what's really wild is this white male perspective Euro, this is not really white. Because Spanish is another mix with Berber, Arab, Visigodos, Godos, Celtas, Yemeni. You got all this mix into Spain, but somehow that entire mix is one. Is like Español. That's it. That entire salad bowl, dark, light skin, dark skin, blue eyes, brown eyes. Everybody is in that bucket, but then bring them and mix them, and they get all the other buckets that you just saw. So talk about like mixing and race. And of course, you want to be white because you want to be either a virrey, means you represent the king, or a gobernador. Of course, you want to be the governor, you want to be the president, you want to be obispo, work for the church, you want to be comerciante de la corona and work as a businessman. You want to be that top layer, or maybe you want to be a criollo and have own land and have horses and work in some kind of religious parroquia, which is a little church. But if you happen to be a mestizo, you're going to be a farmer or a carpenter, right? It determines who you are in your job or how you fit in society, your color of skin. Color of skin. If you find yourself in the chart. Anyhow, we did a few things. We did people, we did the mass baptism. I don't know if you guys remember. Are you with me? It's too much information. Did I lose you? We did the mass baptism. We did the building transformation or the building conversion. Now we're going to go on to book burning, destruction of knowledge of the past. So if you don't have your knowledge of the past anymore, you don't know who you are. Why? Because you write to document your story, your history, your anything. But if you're going to write in Arabic, and Arabic is a heretic language, because all of a sudden Arabic becomes connected to the Quran. The problem with Arabic is a very problematic language. Because if you learn, let's do an exercise here. In the world today, are people more Arabized or Islamized? Numbers. More people are Arabized or more people are Islamized? Meaning, are there more Muslims in the world or more Arabs? Definitely Muslims, right? The Arabs are like what, 18, 20%? And the rest is all non-Arabs. Are you with me? So Islamization is much more popular than Arabization. I don't know if popular is the word to use, but like, let's do it in terms of numbers, statistics, right? Statistically speaking, Arabization and Islamization can happen together, and Islamization can happen without Arabization, and Arabization can happen without Islamization. Because Arabs can be Christian or Jew. So you can have Arabization and not have Islamization. And you can have Islamization and not have Arabization. Are you with me? Did I lose you? So the process is very independent but connected, because somehow in the Arabization you might read the Quran and say, you know what, I really like this, I want to be a Muslim. So in the process of Arabization you may become Islamized or not. But it's not a required, like it's not like, okay, once you're Arabized you have to be a Muslim. It doesn't work this way, right? Because a lot of Muslims are not Arabized. Yes, are you with me? Well, now you're in a time period when Arabic and Muslim is the same. Arabic is Islam and Islam is Arabic. I don't care if the book is medical book and it talks about body parts. It's heresy and it has to be destroyed because it's Islam. Well, what does the medical book have to do with Islam? Nothing, but it's written in a horrible language because it's the language of the Quran. Oh, really? So everything written in Arabic is Quran? Or everything written in Arabic is related to theology? Aqidah and fiqh, everything is written in Arabic like this. What about stories, short stories, long stories, novel, poetry? What about science? What about astronomy? What about astrology? What about math? What about all these documents that were produced from a civilization that were destroyed? Obviously, the ones that were not destroyed was from a time period earlier, or the ones that were kept precisely by the church because they were important documents. They know if they destroy this, they're done. I'll give you an example of documents that could not get destroyed. The book from Abbas ibn Firnas on how to fly. That was used by Leonardo Da Vinci. All of a sudden, Leonardo Da Vinci is the famous man who flew. Well, the guy before him from Cordoba, 300 years, did it. Doesn't get the credit because he's a Muslim, right? He's a Muslim guy who flew before. He didn't make it. He, fell on his head or something happened to him. But he was the first man who did the wings and flew. But he doesn't get the credit because he's Muslim. Take that book now to Italy. Now Leonardo da Vinci is going to read the book, and all of a sudden it's going to be, oh wow, men can fly. And we can create wings and we can fly. As though flying is a Leonardo da Vinci white male Christian perspective. As though, And from that you can do anything. You can do science, you can do astronomy, you can do anything, and it's going to connect in the same way. One of the things that's very, I don't know, fortunate or unfortunate about Muslims is knowledge is considered sadaqah jariyah, right? Like it's a perpetual sadaqah. If you leave a good knowledge that somebody benefits from, you invent a medicine for someone to be cured, you invent, the medical device, something that you do to help civilization and humanity that's not Quran and it's not Islam and it's not Sharia and none of the above, just something to make people's life better, right? If you invent it or you do it, you're not looking for credit, because you want your credit with Allah, right? So anonymous texts are very common, because I don't care about the author, I want the invention. This person helped the world. It doesn't matter who it was. Whereas in the Christian world, it's all about the who. Who cares about what they did? It's the who. It's the white Christian man did it, let's give him credit. He gets the credit immediately over somebody else who might have had the same idea or might be the inspiration or might be the source. You know the word plagiarism? Science or the knowledge was plagiarized. So Islamic knowledge transfer, but now it gets more credit and more sound because it comes from the voice of a white Christian man. So now it's valid. If it came from a non-white, remember I showed you racial, not me, I showed you racism. Did you see it? Do you believe me? There is racism? Anyhow, don't believe me. It's horrible. Please don't believe me. It's all that racism, it has to give credit back to a person who can look white, Christian, and be a male. Cannot be a woman. I mean, where are the women? Have you seen women? No women voices, no non-white voice, and no non-Muslim. I mean, non-Christian, sorry. Okay? Yes, are you with me? So now by destroying the knowledge is actually destroying identity. Do you see the connection? Okay, we're going to move to public bath. This is we're on the fourth thing. Public bath is an external expression of cleanliness, wudu, ghusl, whatever you want to call it, but it's the expression, it's a cultural expression. It exists in Turkey, existed in, Romans had it, but anyhow, it's the Islamic use of a public bath is closely and tightly related to rituals of prayers and devotion. Can't pray if you don't have your wudu. Even, there's no water, you do tayammum. I mean, that there has to be some kind of concept of cleanliness or purification prior to prayer. Yes? Are you with me? So the water is central component in that time period. So by destroying all the public bath, you're destroying salah. You're basically saying no to salah and no more salah. That's exactly what's happening, right? Well, people have adjusted to no more salah. And everybody here has seen a water fountain in a patio and a water fountain in a house. The creation of a water fountain and a patio is an architectural creation to answer no more public bath. You're not going to give me water there? No problem. I can bring it to my house. I make it look nice, make it sound nice, put some flowers around it. I can make some plants, decorate it, and everybody's going to have it. We're going to impose that architectural style on everyone. Because having water in my patio, you can't take it away from me. Why do you have it? Oh, it looks nice. It sounds nice, relaxing. De-stressor. I have stress. I need to get rid of my stress. You're not going to say I need it for cleaning, wudu, and prayer, etc., etc. Do you understand? So people will dance around rules. People will modify things because there's something called ijtihad in Islam, which is really interesting, that as a Muslim, Islam is not for a specific time period. It's for every time and place. So I don't care where I am and I don't care what time period, I will adjust. So this concept of adjusting, you're not less Muslim because you're adjusting. You just go with the flow. You know what I mean? Like you have to go with the flow. Because as long as I am connected to Allah and I have a relationship, I'm going to go and dance with, I'm going to go with the flow. Okay. I'm going to just do a quick review. So number one, we talked about people conversion. Number two, we talked about building conversion. And number three, we talked about document destruction, right? The Arabic specifically. Number four, we talked about public bath. We are now on number 5, which is what I specialize in, documentos inquisitoriales. So I look at these documents and I study them to see. So basically, I went to the National Archive in Mexico City, and I went in a sala called Sala Inquisición to look for any traces of Muslims tried in this Inquisition. So I'm going to tell you what it is. It's a court, just like a regular going to court. There's a judge, trial, all that stuff. But it's an unusual court because you can't bring an attorney. There's no attorney. If somebody is accused, witnesses. All you can bring is the people come as witnesses, and most of the time witnesses are against you. So that's it. Oh, did you see this person pushing the plate of pork away? Yes. That's it. Come over here. What's going on? Why did you push the plate? Oh, I don't know. The smell was bothering me. I was going to throw up. It's not the smell. Something else is going on. You must be either Jew or Christian. Let's find out. Let's do the trial. Let's do the questioning. Let's do this. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons. There was a camisa blanca. If you were wearing a white shirt on Friday, that means you're Muslim. And I'm going to show you what they were looking for, so you can be... Anyways, I showed you on the timeline that it lasted until 1825, right? Or 1834. This is 354 years of de-Islamization. Of course, Jews and Protestant and all the others. But it's 354 years of de-Islamization. It took 400 years to reach the peak. It took 400 years to fall. And it took another 354 years to de-Islamize? Let's do some math. Let's do some math. 400 plus 400 plus 354. That's a long time. So that means You're not going to be working, trying, and being in business. Let's put it this way. I'm not going to be in business of finding people who are Muslim if they don't exist. Like, if we finish this business by the year 1600, everybody will go home, done, business, you have no job, I have no job, I'm out of business, you're out of business, we're done, right? But these guys lasted in business. You know what mean lasted in business? You could still find people. Up until the year it ended, there were people on the torture machines. Babies, women, on the torture machines. And the description is by the French soldiers. Napoleon's soldiers described how what they saw, and how the Inquisition ended is not because Spain decided there's no more people to hunt, not because they decided, oh my God, it's so cruel and so mean and it's haram and inhumane and not good for, it looks bad. No, it's because they did not want to look bad before the French. They said, oh my God, the French are going to pick on us and say that we have this kind of, bad stuff happening. No problem. We're going to abolish the Inquisition. And they called it La Leyenda Negra. That's not true. We don't have Inquisition. It's not true. It's La Leyenda Negra. It's the black legend. Never happened. Burned the documents to prove of all the crimes that happened. However, the French soldiers took documents to south of France, and that's what we have as Inquisition documents. We study the French documents of Inquisition, because the Spaniards would not give you, here you go, you want to study all the cases of how many people were tortured or how many people were killed and how many people were, no. I mean, let's burn these documents because it doesn't look very good, right? In Mexico City, the archive burned, I think, once, so whatever we have now is whatever is left over from that fire. Right? So today I have 2,500 cases. And counting. Right? So people here. Anyway, so the ones I'm going to show you, the cases I have, right? I'm going to share with you a specific case that is very close to my heart. Anyways. So Santo Oficio, la Inquisición, as I showed you, lasted that long. There's a trial. The Semana Santa, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the concept. Semana Santa is like that Holy Week. People in Spain walk out in procession. Procession. It's kind of like the inspiration for KKK. I'm not going to go into details, but it's like they're inspired by this. But let's not go into details. So now we go from, remember I shared with you the process of elimination of the other, or the otherness, or the creation of the other. We are scared of them. Now we baptize them, but they're not really one of us. They're ex-Muslims, so they're really spies. They're all spies for the Turks. Oh, they all work for the Turks. None of them are real, true Spanish citizens. They're all outsiders. The Turks bought them. That means they'll sell us in the next corner. So the best way is we sell them before they sell us. Let's just do a deal. We get them out. We kick them out before they kick us out. It's a game of who's going to kick who first out, right? So since these guys are doing deals with the Turks, we can't trust them. And they're not one of us, and they're not citizen, and they're not loyal. And of course, we're scared. And since we're scared, we justify. I call them refugees. Of course, they don't use that term in the past. They say, they call it la expulsión, no? The expulsion, right? Deportation, refugees. But it's very similar to today's story of refugees. I put the word refugees to kind of understand what's going on here. This is your home, no longer your home. Please leave because you're no longer welcome. Your home is going to stay, your money is going to stay, but you get to go. And start fresh somewhere new. The world is open. You can just go and enjoy your life. You got the Muslim world. They're going to be open arms receiving you. Go to Morocco, they'll be happy to have you. Or go to Egypt, they'll be happy to have you. Or go to any country and ask them aren't they good Muslims? And they're going to love you and they're going to give you support. Enjoy the Muslim world. As though the Muslim world will open their arms and say, please come and let me give you a hug, and I'm sorry you lost your home. As though this is going to happen. And I'm talking about contemporary. I'm using contemporary, understanding of what's going on. So it takes, as sad as it looks that, there's a Muslim expulsion, I call it el teatro. This is a big theatrical show. Because they only expelled like 3 to 5% of the population. So you want to tell me that after 800-900 years, there's only 3 to 5% Muslims? And what is the Inquisition doing for 354 years? Are they just like out of business? What are they doing? So if the Inquisition is not in business, and these guys all left, and we tried to so the whole story about the expulsion is, we tried so hard to baptize them and make them good Christians, but these guys, the more we Christianize them, the more they are Muslim. We don't know what to do. They're doing their Islam at home, and they're pretending to be Christians. We can't trust them. Plus, they all bought by the Turks. They're going to come any minute and, turn against us. So the best way we do it, put them on the ships and vaya con Dios. You know what I mean? Like, they're just going to, God was with you and you're blessed and you can be on the ship. And vaya con Dios. You know what I mean? Well, in that time period, one thing that happened or started occurring is what we call the pirates of the Mediterranean and pirates of the Caribbean and all the pirates. Like all these men, single men, all these guys on a ship. All the story of all these guys on the ship. They don't do anything except, take all the other ships. Well, anyways, I'm going to take you there. So who gets to stay? Women and children could not leave. So only men get to go. So the refugee story or the expulsion or the expulsion story is about the men. Okay, let me ask you. Muslim men, you're going to leave your wife and your children, your mom, your sister, you're going to walk away, get on the ship, unless you were waiting for this moment, and this is your new beginning, and you couldn't wait. This is like sent from heaven. Thank you, Allah. I was waiting to get out of this situation, and this was my ticket to get out. Unless you were that man, you're going to want to come back, right? To check on the kids or the wife or the mom or the sister or the dad. I mean, check on somebody, right? If you have any affinity to anybody in your family, right? But if not, you're going to walk out and say, thank you, Lord, you gave me a new opportunity here to do something different. And it's not me, it's them. I didn't have to leave her. They asked me to go, so bye-bye. Anyways, put yourself in that situation and tell me what's more logical, right? So the men had to leave, right? So then from there, we go to the empire, the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans are growing in the east. And I'm going to show you something about that growth. You see how the Turkey is going into Eastern Europe, even south of Italy. And where is Rome? Not far. What's Rome? Rome is the Western, oh my God, the Western Roman Empire. They're coming to the capital. They're coming. The Vatican. This is it. Well, I'm not sure this is correct or not, but is it, maybe I'm going to ask Mehmet. I know he's Turkish, so I'm going to ask him. Did Mehmet the First pass away in Rome? I mean, near Rome in Italy? Where was he? Or was he on his way to Rome?
No, I mean, they captured the south, southern Italy, but then, they couldn't stay for 9 years.
But was his intention to get Rome?
Yes.
So Mehmet, after taking Constantinople, he said, I'm going to go to Rome. That was the intention. Yeah, the intention didn't happen, but the Christians responded to that. They said, these guys are coming to Rome. This is going to hit home very soon. So we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to do something before it's too late. You know what I mean? Before it's too late. So, okay. So now, 5 more minutes? Okay. I'm going to, I think, jump and then go back. Okay, so the shift, I told you there's a shift between, now from the fear of Moros to the fear of the Ottomans or the Turks, right? The pirates, you see the stories of the pirates, right? The pirates of the Caribbean, their commerce, the business. Oh, these are the guys, the Turks are ruling. They're in charge of the business and all the money in the Mediterranean. So there was a big strategy about who's going to control the Mediterranean Sea, or the seas in general. And the Spaniards solved it. They said, you know what? We don't care about them. I mean, we do care about the Mediterranean, of course, because we want to get to India and all that stuff. But we have a better plan. We're going to go the other direction. And we're going to get to India, and we're going to get the trade, all the spice, all of this is our true trade. We're in charge. The money's in our pocket. But we're going to do it the other way. Right? So the idea of going to America was to control, it was still part of that story of who controls the trade and who has the money. If we can't control the Mediterranean because the Turks are working really hard, we can move the other direction and kind of do it. So Mediterranean was a big story at the time. Who controls it? Here, commerce, you see? You see the shift, money, it's like a big, it's a very important understanding about, of course, how do you portray the Turks? Well, now they are the demons of today because the Moros are gone. You can't demonize the Moros. There has to be a new power struggle of empires. So beware of the Turks because they're coming. Those images of fear, again, swords, blood, you know what I mean? It sounds familiar. Jihad, it sounds familiar. That language, that language does not change. I don't care what century you're in, the language is still the same. Fear them, they're violent, they're this. So if today we stand as Muslims and we say, Islam is the religion of peace. Wow. Well, try that from medieval time. Try it after I don't know how many crusaders, trying to come in the Muslim world. Try to explain it with the Ottoman Turks. Try to explain it with the Muslims in Spain. Try to explain anything. Try to explain it with the Camino de Santiago. Explain anything. Explain the religion of peace with any of the above, right? So the Ottoman Turks did stop in Vienna. I'm going to go forward and then I'm going to go back. So I want to take you to hear the qasida or the poem. And I think this is a good place to stop for a prayer, and then we come back and pick up at this poem. So this famous poem, the poem is called A Curious Appeal of the Moriscos to the Ottoman Sultan Bayezid II, right? So they went, not Mehmet, it was after him, right? So they came after, it was years after Constantinople was Istanbul. So the Morisco appealed to the Ottomans. They said, so they went to ask, this is very interesting, because this is the Muslim telling the story about what's going on at home. And they're sharing. First, they started telling the king about all the good things that he has. You have your majesty, we admire you, you represent self-esteem to us, we have no self-esteem. You represent pride, we have no pride. You represent glory, we have no glory. May God protect your kingdom, may God give you success. They start with the long praise, and then they jump in. Our sons or daughters are taken captive, are slaughtered, right? We used to pay in Mudekhar time a tribute, now we can't pay. And they start really sharing what's going on. The possessions in their homes are taken. They're sharing all the things that happen. Please, I invite you to go and find that poem. It exists in Spanish, it exists in Arabic, and it exists in English. It's called The Curious Appeal of the Moriscos to the Sultan, right? To the Sultan. Find it in any of those three languages. Read it in Arabic. It's very powerful. It's written in Arabic, and it was you can't read it without reacting to it. Yes. It is actually called. If you search like this, it's The Curious Appeal of the Moriscos to the Sultan, Ottoman Sultan, and write Arabic, and it will come up. Because the PDF document has the Arabic first, then Spanish, or Arabic first, then English. You will find it. Yeah. Alas, to exchanging Muhammad's religion to the dogs. It's very interesting. Read it to get a better understanding. But I want to go here and I want to share with you why is this poem important. The poem was brought to our attention in 1966 by James Monroe. He's the one who found it and published it. Before that, nobody knew anything about that poem. They requested aid from the Ottoman Turks. Usually the people in Al-Andalus or Spain, they asked for aid from Morocco. That was a traditional route of asking for help. Now they go to the Ottoman Sultan, the pride and joy of the Muslim world, and they say, please help. They connect the empires. They show you that the language of Spanish that says La Quinta Columna, you can't trust them, all that stuff has some kind of facts because they're connected with the Turks. The Turks, they tell them we're coming. You know what? I am moved by your poem, I am moved by your story, and I am coming, but from the east. Just wait for me. It's just a matter of time. Go down kind of like under the rug for a while. And when we come, you get out of the you get out and be yourself and embrace your Islam openly. But in the meantime, we're busy in the East. And they were truthful to their words. They actually, what they said is something that they did. It wasn't like they were saying words just to say words, right? But it wasn't until Vienna in 1683 when they were stopped and they lost the battle that they couldn't advance and get to Spain. But it was too late because already they went underground and practiced their religion underground. It was already like a practice. They've been doing it for a long time. It was 1501, right? Remember the times? So 183 years later, or 182 years later, they lost the battle, but it doesn't matter because the Spanish Muslims have already developed an idea that these guys are coming. Allah will bring victory somehow. You know what? They're not coming victory. Allah will bring it from somewhere else. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to lose my hope. It was a hope. You know when you don't have anything to attach yourself to and somebody gives you a feather? Here's a feather. It's not really, you don't see anything, nothing. There's nothing, but it's a feather and it's going to keep me alive and I'm going to hold myself to it. Well, you know what? I'm going to attach myself to that feather. And it didn't matter that they lost in Vienna. There's nothing in the writing after this that says, oh, now that the Turks lost in Vienna, we really have to surrender and be Christians now. Nothing like this, because they still hunt them in the Inquisition and still find them. So that means it didn't really affect, they were already trained into this new reality of let's hide until victory comes. And it's very Islamic value, right? It's very Islamic that in times when there's a verse in the Quran that says, you know, إِلَّا مَنْ أُكْرِهَ وَقَلْبُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ, right? So unless your heart is at peace and you know yourself and you don't fear who you are, if you have to say something against your beliefs just to survive and preserve your life, you're going to do it. As long as your heart is, you know exactly who you are and you're connected to Allah and you know your faith, right? So yes, I think this is a good place to stop and I will pick up from here. Thank you.
Jazakallahu khair, Dr. Maryam. We'll continue this journey after Salat al-Isha, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I think we need some help there for the sisters to be able to pray, right? Brothers can, نعم يا شيخ أبو سمية. Yeah, أخواتنا كانوا. Yeah, I think if you leave the tables, you can pray there and you should be okay, inshallah. We can move this. We can, أخواتي, you can pray here. We can move this table only. أخي الحبيب Alex. أخواتي, you can pray here. أخوات, you can pray here. Come forward. This is fine, inshallah. You can be following us right here. Right here. You don't have to go over there. There is enough space, akhawat, here. You fill all this space and you're following the jama'ah. Come over here, akhawat. Barakallahu fikum. Naam, yes. Inshallah. Jazakallahu khair. Are we ready, ya akhwati? Akhwanna? Sheikh Muhammad Nuqim as-salah, inshallah. Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. شيخ محمد تفضل.
استقيم واستوى اقبلوا على الله بقلوب خاشعة. الله أكبر. بسم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان وله الجوار المنشآت في البحر كالأعلام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يسأله من في السماوات والأرض كل يوم هو في شأن فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان سنفرغ لكم أيها الثقلان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يرسل عليكما شواظ من نار ونحاس فلا تنتصران فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان الله سمع الله لمن حمده
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
شكرا يا شيخ محمد. تقبل الله منا ومنكم إخواني وأخواتي. Before we go back to the presentation, I wanted to urge every one of you to come tomorrow to join us for the second part of this conference, Da'wah conference. Tomorrow we will, inshallah, be learning from Dr. Maryam Hafidahullah. We will also be learning from Akhi Sheikh Abu Sumayya, who will be speaking tomorrow as well. Tomorrow the program starts at 1 o'clock and all the way to 5 p.m. On the top of learning and get together and socialize as well, talk with each other. We will have inshallah, you will have a complimentary, generous dinner from our masjid for you, the ones who will be attending tomorrow. If you're not attending tomorrow, you won't get that one. So, so make sure that you come, everybody, and bring others. Inshallah, we will have enough for everybody. But now you can pray your sunnah. Well, actually, you might want to do that later, but it is up to you. We'll be having our, inshallah, fruits. You can. I didn't see anybody eat any of the fruits today. We want to finish all of that, right? Right, Akhi Ata? right? Sheikh Muhammad is saying that you're saving it for tomorrow. No, no, no. You can have it all. Inshallah, we'll have more. We'll have more tomorrow, inshallah. But yeah, so we'll be waiting for everybody, inshallah, to not to leave. Right? Nobody is leaving. We learned a lot from Dr. Maryam, Hafidhahullah. Dr. Maryam came, as I told you in the beginning, Dr. Maryam came from the West Coast. She came from California for you, for us. So the least thing we can do is just to remain, to stay here and learn from her. Jazakallahu khairan for what she presented, and inshallah we will continue in a moment. Barakallahu feekum, hafidhakumullah.
جزاك الله خير. حاضر. ربي يحفظك.
أما أنا سعيد بهذا الكتاب.
الله يبارك فيك يا سيدنا.
الله يتقبل. طول هو في الطباعة.
والله انا اللي طولت في مواجهته. انت عارف الوقت مزعج يعني.
صحيح؟ والله أنا يعني أعتبرها كرامة.
الوقت مزعج.
عليكم السلام.
يا شيخ.
From 1 to 5.
طيب خلينا نشوفك بكره كده على اخر النهارده نقعد مع بعض. انت مش موجود هنا في المجلس يا باشا؟ موجود؟ خلاص نقعد مع بعض شويه. نشرب القهوه سوا. تعرف عليك يعني. ماشي. انت مقيم فين؟ فين؟ قريب من هنا؟
We will talk about
حضرتك الشيخ اللي أقول من المغرب وأنا هناك اليوم ولا أنا متلخبط؟ ماشي. لا أنت لسه شايف الشيخ تجيب في السنة. لسه شيخ قليل. كمان أنت كلك شباب أهو مش عارف أصلا. مش زينا بيض. ربنا يبارك فيك. من أي المغرب؟ قال لو نفسي ازورها ان شاء الله هزورها باذن الله. احنا حبايبنا فيها كتير بس ما زورت.
in case somebody okay, in case somebody wants to have some coffee or tea, there is downstairs, there's something fresh, coffee and tea, right, Sister Fatima? Okay, you can go ahead and enjoy it, but make sure that you come back fast. Okay, barakallahu feekum. Okay, all right. Is Andres here? Andres, you're here? Ready? You're not? I want to announce it. Are you sure? Dr. Maryam, you didn't have anything, please. I know you can't. I know, just everybody please try to go back. Okay, we're waiting for Sister Dr. Maryam to finish her tufaha, finish her moza rather. Okay, okay everybody. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Let's continue this journey of glory, pride, and sorrow, right? Journey in history, politics, right? And language. والدكتورة مريم حفظها الله نسأل الله أن يبارك فيها ويتقبل منا ومنها.
Thank you so
Please تفضلوا.
Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me? Is my voice clear? Yes? Okay. The second part of the presentation, I'd like to share with you two things. The first one is actually very interesting. The dua of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, after he built the Kaaba and he was رَبِّ جَعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي. You know, this prayer goes very far. When you say, oh Allah, make me amongst those who are qim as-salah, means those who are performing the prayer, iqamat as-salah, those who stand up in prayer. وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي means, and from my descent. So the second part here I want to share with you because I see their descent. Descent means, you know, and the people who come and embrace Islam and the people who are, definitely I don't believe that this is a coincidence. I think there is a direct relationship between a dua that you make for your children that maybe they could not perform the salah for I don't know how many years, but then from the great grandchildren, someone is going to find it and feel at home. And you wonder why you feel at home. Well, maybe you have it. Maybe that is a dua accepted in its own time, you know? So this is the first thought I want to make you think about as we journey into the second part. And the second thing is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, who says that when you see something wrong, you correct it. Either correct it with your hand, you correct it with your voice, you say something, or in your heart, you just hate it. You hate that action in your heart. So in that second hadith is going to be what I will show you as how people resisted or hated something, but they resisted in their writing. And that was their form of resistance, right? So when you choose, that means I don't accept my condition. I'm not saying I'm happy where I am, but I'm trying, and my condition only allows me to do this because that's the best I can offer at this time. Maybe in a different circumstance, I can do something different, right? In a different situation. But at this moment, I will write, and that would be the medium of resistance, if you wish. So we shared here the rise of the Ottoman and all of that, the glory and all of this. And I showed you how there was a shift from Moro to Turkish, right? But I also wanted to do a linguistic connection. If the Ottoman Turks are not Arabs, they're not Arabs. And I'm underlining they're not Arabs. And they are the pride of joy of Islam. We're going to cheer them on because no one before them was able to get Constantinople. The Prophet has a hadith, the Quran says it, it can't be any more correct than this, right? And if they are non-Arabs and they write Turkish with Arabic script, who says we cannot write Spanish in Arabic script? Because I don't know Arabic anymore. And perhaps I'm not Arab anymore. But does that make me less Muslim? And if they are not less Muslim, that means I am not less Muslim. So there was a big debate in 1400s whether the Muslims can translate the Quran to Spanish or not. Can we or can we not translate the Quran? It's haram, you can't. If you translate it, it's no longer the book of God. It's going to be the book of man, a man's word, then it's not going to be the word of Allah anymore. We cannot translate the Quran, this is not going to happen. And others, they say, well, wait a minute. They did it. They're the pride and joy in the Muslim world. Why can't we do it? And they're doing it in Turkish. Who says we can't? So there's a big debate. Some people say, no, don't. But finally, the debate ends with people saying, well, if we don't do it, our children are not going to know Islam anymore. So it's either we decide to translate and go with the flow and do something that we never done before, translate or write something that we've never written before. Either we do that or it's basically, thank you so much, or there's going to be an end to Islamization. Because Arabization, that's it. Books are burned, no more schools, no more universities, can't do it. But who says that with the loss of Arabization, there's a loss of Islamization? Says who? It's not the same thing. You can be Muslim and not be Arab. And again, they're discussing why the Turks can and we can't. Well, we used to know Arabic. Our solution is to go back and learn more Arabic. Well, we can't. Where are we going to learn it? The schools are gone. Teachers are gone. So can we preserve it in our own language, in that new language, Castellano, Romance, whatever it is? Can we do it? Yes, we can. So they started doing something very interesting. There's two things that I will share with you linguistically speaking. The first thing is called al-Khamiado, which is writing Spanish and Arabic script. So if you read it, it's not going to be Arabic, it's going to be Spanish. So this looks like it's Arabic, but it's actually Spanish. All right? So this is the first process, and I'm going to show you the opposite process that I found in Mexico City. Mexico City, they were writing Arabic in Latin script. So I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to show you that. So I'm going to compare those two together, right? So it starts like this, and it says, del galardón. Galardón is recompensa in Old Spanish, right? Del galardón de los sabios, right? Del galardón de los sabios, de la recompensa de los sabios. Dicho, anybody can read with me? Anybody who can read Spanish, right? Where you read Arabic? Dicho un recontador. Someone says, quien demandare por camino y carrera para aprender ciencia y sabiduría. Whoever goes in the path of knowledge to seek wisdom and knowledge, right? Aderezale Dios adelcatel a un camino de los caminos del paraíso. Allah will guide them to a path to the paradise, right? So if you seek knowledge, it's as if you're seeking a path to Jannah, right? Basically. It is a hadith. So dicho un recontador is whoever said to whoever, this is all deleted. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, all of this is gone. You delete all of this, the narrative line, and you said, dicho un recontador, dicho mi abuela. Mi abuela dijo. So all of a sudden, mi abuela has the voice of wisdom, and all of the stuff that the abuela says, or the grandma, is basically the hadith of the Prophet. Dime con quién andas, te diré quién eres. The hadith of the Prophet. You know, المرء على دين خليله فلينظر أحدكم من يخالل, right? Dijo mi abuela, dijo mi abuela. El que madruga, Dios le ayuda. إن في البكور بركة. The hadith of the Prophet. قال رسول الله. Instead of saying all of these things, all of a sudden they are translated into dichos populares o enseñanzas de mi abuela. Because all of a sudden, abuela or grandma is not a threatening Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you delete the Prophet and the knowledge that you can say, you know, according to, عن Bukhari, Bani Huraira, you know, you don't need all of that. It's too intense. You just say, my grandma says. And all of a sudden, your grandma is a voice of wisdom, and everybody follows the grandma, and nobody's scared to say, my grandma told me this. You know, in this situation, my grandma says, you do this, this will happen. Nice. El que bien anda, bien acaba. Y el que mal anda, mal acaba. Dice mi abuela, you know. And if she says it, it's authority, right? I don't know if you guys approve with me, like culturally, right? As a cultural, you know. So by the same token, you have a hadith that's incorporated, you know. So I'm not gonna stop here for too long because I have a lot of things to show you. So now I'm gonna show you New Spain. And I talked about New Spain earlier, but I'm gonna show you, this is the Museum of the Inquisition. And this is the Sala Inquisición. You see the flag? The room in the back is Sala 4 Inquisición. And in the Sala 4, I found 3 groups of documentation. The first group of documentation is legal edicts. Edicts are laws or edicto, law, issues to ban Islam and Muslims. So I found in New Spain 280 laws issued to ban Islam and Muslims. So I asked the question, why are you banning something that doesn't exist? They're not here, right? They're gone, they packed their bags, they disappeared. They finished their vacation, they left. You know, the extended stay ended. Why are why are they here? Why are we banning something that doesn't exist? That's the first group of documentation. The second group I found was the Inquisition cases, where somebody's wearing a camisa blanca on a Friday, a white shirt, so why are you wearing a white shirt on Friday? Are you Muslim? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And documentos, then I was looking for documentos por musulmanes para musulmanes, means somebody who wrote it is Muslim and somebody who read it is Muslim. So it's written by Muslim for Muslim. Not written by the church and not written by the state. I wanted something authentic, the voice of the actual people. This is what's interesting for me. This is what I want to hear, the voice of the real people talking about their situation. How are we doing this? How are we practicing Islam? Are we practicing? So this is the National Archive. Of course, if I put the word Islam, Muslim, Arab, I get 0 in the search engine. There's nothing. Muslim, Islam, Arab, 0. But if I put Maometano, la secta de Mahoma, Maometizante, Mahomedes, Mudéjares, Moros, Turcos, Otomanos, Saoríes, Ismaelitas, Sarracenos, Andaluces, Elches, Hijos de Elches, Bereberes, Bereberiscos, Agareños, Ismaelitas, Ismailías, I get stuff. So they're not called Muslims. Do you remember the M word in Spain? At least they got the M word. We don't even have it here. At least they got the M. We don't even have M, you know what I mean? It's so bad. And Prophet Muhammad is not called Muhammad. It's called Maometi, Maometo, Maometu, Maometikam, Maometani, Maometum, Maometus. Oh God, I don't even know how to say it anymore. Do you know what I mean? All of this is to say Muhammad. I mean, come on, just say Muhammad, you know? It's not that bad. It's much easier than all that stuff. But again, if you put Muhammad, you get nothing. Nothing in the search engine. It's how you record, and it's how you write, and it's how you say it. Right? So again, Turcos, Otomanos, and I was trying to show you that the shift between Moro, that, you know, lost power and is no more the enemy. Well, we got the new enemy, the Turco, right? Okay, so here it is. I wanted to show you the size of the edict. Do you see the size of edicto? This picture is not to show you when I'm standing in the archive, it's to show you actually the size of the document compared to me. So I needed 2 people to carry the document with me. This is the edict that was issued to ban Islam and Muslims. And you see how many of them are piled on top of each other? Each one is a different edict. So, edictos contra la secta de Mahoma. And I'm going to share with you what they look like. Okay, so this is an edict of the year not mentioned. Okay, well, anyways, again, Sala Inquisición. This one here talks about la malvada secta de Mahoma, the evil sect of Muhammad, right? Right here, do you see the sect? The evil sect. Sect is, but they also called it for the Jews. So la secta de Moisés, the sect of Moses, and the sect of Muhammad. That's how they refer to, like la secta de Moisés or Moisés y la secta de Mahoma. These are the terms. This one here was charged by the Inquisition because he said el Quran de Mahoma era bueno. So he said the Quran of Muhammad is good, and that was his crime, right? Charged for that. How would you say the Quran of Muhammad is good? Wait, do you read the Quran? Do you have a Quran? Come here, come over here. All right, the next one is what I considered my incredible case, because this person was charged with everything. This one was hereje ateo, he was atheist, he was materialista, he was Calvinista, Luterano, he was also Lutheran, he was Maometano, right here. He was everything. This guy was charged with it all, even Muslim as part of the bunch. He was atheist, Lutheran, and Muslim at the same time. So this is I don't know, sometimes I want to cry, sometimes I want to laugh. I'm not sure how these people are writing these things. Huh? He's charged for all of these things. He has to prove himself that he's not an atheist, and he's not a Lutheran, and he's not a Maometano, and he's not a Luterano, and he's not a Calvinista, and he's not any of them, but he has to, show a case for himself. Now we have this one here, is he said del profeta que era Mahoma, que no había más profeta más que Mahoma. The only prophet he follows is Mahoma. So if you follow Muhammad, that's his prophet. I follow Muhammad. There's another one that's so funny. So funny. He was talking about how Muhammad was offering blessings from Jesus. He says, you know what, I actually like Muhammad more because Muhammad was above Jesus. Jesus was asking him for stuff. You know how we ask Jesus? No. Jesus was asking Muhammad for stuff. So this was so funny because this comes from the Christian ideology of you go ask Jesus for stuff. But now he's like, you know what, you don't need to ask Jesus because Jesus was asking Muhammad. So let's just go straight to Muhammad and ask him. You know what I mean? We don't even need to ask Jesus. You go straight to the source. It was very interesting. It's what's going on here? There's another one charged because they dressed like Muslims and they were eating with Muslims. So this guy was like, I saw you eating with Muslims, so you must be one of them. So if he's saying they're eating with Muslims, that means there are Muslims around, right? I would be charged by eating with them if you're not one of them, or if they're not around, or something. There's another case of one guy who dressed in feathers and passed as a native, indigenous, learned indigenous language, because he was Muslim and he was avoiding the Inquisition. So they got him and they said, we know you're not, we took out the feathers, we took out the dark chocolate stuff you put on your skin, you're not native, no, you can't fool us, you're a Muslim, so he was he was wearing his Halloween costume, if you wish, but in an indigenous to hide from the Inquisition. But again, he was charged as Muslim, dressed in feathers. Very interesting. There's a lot of interesting stuff, So this is I just want to share with you this edict because it talks about how the church was hunting for Muslims and what they were profiling at what a Muslim is. Not how we define a Muslim, but how they define what a Muslim is. So what a Muslim is si sabéis o habéis, if you know or you heard. Oído decir que alguna persona haya dicho, afirmado que la secta de Mahoma es buena. If somebody says the sect of Muhammad is good. Y no hay otra para entrar al paraíso. There's no other sect to enter paradise. That's it. Sect of Muhammad is the one going into heaven, right? Y Jesucristo no es Dios. So Jesus is not God. sino profeta. If you find somebody talks about Jesus like a prophet, these are the signs. If you find that, you nailed them. They are the sect of Muhammad, right? Y no nació de Nuestra Señora siendo virgen antes del parto, en el parto y después del parto. So the virgin is not virgin before birth, during birth, and after birth. They're really discussing this stuff really deep. You know what I mean? This deep conversation about if she's a virgin before the birth, during the birth, after the birth. I don't know if Muslims care about this conversation, but the church profiles somebody who talks about this as a Muslim. You know what I mean? This is how they were cataloging them. Yes. This is after 1492. This is New Spain. This is when Hernán Cortés is in, Tenochtitlan. This is it. This is right here in America. This is an American document. This is a Latin American document. It's not a Spanish document. Yeah? And they go on talking about el cuchillo and how do you, the knife and how you cut and, you put the qibla, the direction of al-qibla. I don't know if you can read here al-qibla. Maybe I can, hold on, maybe I can show you. I'll read some of it. I have this, yeah? I think you can hear me? Yeah? I'm just going to show you. Yeah? Oh, I have to take this one? Okay, you can hear me? So I just want to show you some of the things, right? So you see here, they talk about degollar, las dichas, hold on. Oh, hacia el oriente. So they don't say they slaughter towards the Kaaba, but the oriente, towards the east, right? And here they talk about la al-qibla. I don't know if you can see it, right? La al-qibla, hacia, la cara, volviendo la cara y la cabeza hacia al-qibla. When they pray, they go. So I found documents where somebody is praying towards the east. They're not telling you Mecca, there's no qibla, there's no nothing, but somebody is directing himself towards the east. I use their document to find them. So I use this description to find Muslims. Because I don't know how to find them. Because if I write Muslims, I don't find them. They're not called Muslims. Do you agree? They're not going to call them Muslims. They're called anything else but Muslim. So if I want to find them, I better use their criteria and their selection of what a Muslim is to find them. So I needed, as a Muslim, to learn what a Muslim is, according to the church, right? According to what they classify and profile as a Muslim. So here, so for example, oh, this is funny. This is really funny. They talk about wudu, right? So I'm going to show you this. Oh, Ramadan and wudu. They talk about Ramadan. No hay más Dios que Dios. If somebody says there's no other God but God, and Mahoma is su mensajero, and Muhammad is his messenger, y que hayan dicho que no hay más de, y que hayan jurado por la al-qibra, and they were swearing towards, I think, al-qibla, I'm not sure if that word, y dicho que al-yamisul, alhamdulillah, oh, perfect, oh, mashallah, may Allah bless you. Thank you so much, thank you, this saves us, thank you so much, right here. Y que quiere decir que todos los juramentos, y que hayan ayunado el ayuno de Ramadan. So of course I started looking for Ramadan. You can imagine this became my keyword, right? Because I would never imagine that Ramadan is Ramadan, but I'm going to go for Ramadan. Guardando su Pascua, I started searching for Pascua. If they call Eid Pascua, I started looking for Pascua. Dando en ella a los pobres limosna. If anybody helps the poor and gives sadaqah, they're Muslims. So you classify. Find the people who give sadaqah, they're the Muslims. These are the classification. Y comiendo y bebiendo, no comiendo ni bebiendo todo el día. Hasta la noche. Salida de las estrellas, comiendo carne o lo que quieran. Y que hayan dicho el sahur. That became a key word for me. Sahur. Sahur in Spanish is sahur. But again, it's Spanish is sahur. So, hayan hecho el sahur levantándose en las mañanas antes de que amanezca a comer. Y después de haber comido, lavarse la boca. Go find somebody who, after Fajr, go and wash their mouth. Are you living in their home? Like, are you staying in their house to check if after they woke up and ate, they're going to wash their mouth? Like, this is unbelievable. This is too intense. This is too intense. They know too much or they know too little. I'm not sure. The next one is the funny part, and I actually mean funny. Hey, here. Yes, everything is okay? Okay. Y tornándose a la cama. So after they eat sahur, they go back to bed. So they're with you. They're with you on your schedule. They see you got up to eat. They saw you wash your mouth. And now they saw you go back to bed. And they're going to ask you why. They're going to dig deep and ask you why you do that, right? Y que hayan hecho el guadoc. So now that became my key word. Guadoc is wudu, you guys. In Spanish, it's called guadoc. So guadoc, lavándose, miren, I want you to see what is wudu according to these people, because it's really interesting. Lavándose los brazos, las manos, los codos, la cara, la boca, narices, oídos, piernas y partes vergonzosas. Wow. He laughed. Okay, so you're going to wash I'm going to go through it, but please, this is not me. This is the Inquisition, right? So they're going to wash their, yeah, that's the real one. They're doing their arms, their hands, their elbows, their face, their mouth, their noses, their ears, their legs, and their private parts. So somebody's walking with you to the bathroom and watching you. If you wash your private part, hey, what's going on? Are we doing Secta de Mahoma stuff or what? What's going on here? You know what I mean? I've yet to see how they prove that one. You know, it's just like, please. How do we get there? How do we get there? You know? Yes. Uh-huh. Yes. This is Mexico City. This is not Spain. This is Mexico City. This is Mexico City. This is Mexico City, and this document is 1700s. This is not 1492. This is after people, ended their vacation and their extended stay, and they packed, they left. Y que hayan hecho después el Salah with a Z. Have you ever seen Salah with a Z, you guys? That's it. El Salah. Volviendo la cara hacia la alquibla, diciendo ciertas palabras en arábigo. So they were doing their prayers towards the qibla, saying some words in Arabic. We don't know what they say, but if you hear it, catch it, right? Y otras oraciones de moros. They want to say other surahs, or they're saying stuff. The word stuff, they say, and prayers of the moros. If you find them doing the prayers of the moros, which you know what I know, or you know what they are, because I don't know what they are, but apparently these guys know, right? Y que no comen tocino, which, hold on, before that. Diciendo ciertas palabras y rezando la oración de Andalulay. Andalulay is, guess what Andalulay is? Y kul huwa. If they do the kul huwa, y andalulay, y guahad, kul huwa y la guahad. If you find them doing the kul huwa, or the guahad, or the andalulay. Andalulay is al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, andalulay. If you find them do the andalulay, or the kul huwa, or the guadoc, y otras oraciones de moros, y no comen tocino. They don't eat pork. Are you familiar with that one? Yes? No beben vino, they don't drink alcohol, por guarda y observanza de la secta de Mahoma, de los moros, no? So the Pascha, now they go to Eid al-Adha, and these guys nail it. They don't leave anything out. These guys are like the Pascua del Carnero. They got two Pascua. Pascua regular, like Pascua regular Eid, and then they got the other Eid. They nailed it down, So anyways, these documents became they call it in Spanish pista. Pista is like my puzzle board on how am I going to find Muslims. Because I'm going to find people who do guadoc, and I'm going to find people who do the al-qibla business, and I'm going to find the salah with a Z, and I'm going to find people who do partes vergonzosas, because I'm sure these guys are all Muslims somehow. And I'm going to find Andalulay and kul huwa. And I actually found stuff, so I'm going to show you what I found. It's really interesting, because this is how you find them. I'm not going to find them if I put Muslims, right? So they find them based on those features, right? They hunted them. So there's another thing that I did find is an edict to prohibit el Corán. So they say here, si habéis oído algunas sectas hayan tenido libros, la secta y dicho luterano. So they say if you find any books from Martin Luther, herejes, Y el Corán. Do you see the word el Corán right here, underlined? So they were searching for Quran. So if they're searching for Quran, I decided to search for one too. If they're looking for it, I might as well be looking for it because I may find it. So I found an Arabic letter with that search. And the Arabic letter right here, right? And this is from a nephew to his uncle in the Inquisition, and it's 1750s in Arabic language, right? And this letter is the motive of my presentation next month in Mexico City. I have a presentation called La Carta Árabe en la Cárcel de la Inquisición. And in details, I edited, translated this letter, and this was my publication from last year. I was working on it last year, the entire document. Who wrote it, why they wrote it, the entire thing. Now I'm going to share with you this one, because this is the opposite process of what I read to you earlier about Spanish written in Arabic script. Now we have Arabic written in Spanish script, in Latin script. So you remember when we were finding La Oración de Kulhua, the prayers of Kulhua, Andalulay, and all that stuff? Do you guys remember those interesting terms? Well, right here, Oración del Hamdu. I actually found the document, La Oración del Hamdu. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Right? Are you with me? Okay. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahimi Maliki Yawmiddini. Iyake, huh? Na'budu, Iyake na'budu, Iyake nasta'in. Ihdina al-sirata, ahí está el sirata al-mustaqima. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ¿Qué quiere decir? Alabado sea Dios, creador del cielo, de los sabios, el misericordioso que ha de misericordia, emperador del día de la ley. A ti adoramos, tú eres nuestro refugio. Tú nos guías por el verdadero camino, camino que prometiste a aquellos moros y no sus enemigos cristianos, ni a los que andan errados. Este es el Corán. So this document is my next publication also. It's my book. And this is called the Breviario Sunni of the Novo Hispano, or from New Spain. I couldn't believe I found this document. You can imagine the day I found this document, I was running in the archives. Like nobody could contain me. I did like maybe tawaf around the archive, maybe 7 times. I actually couldn't handle that I found this. Because this is the opposite of everything I was doing in Spain. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, what am I looking at? What is this? This is unbelievable. What is this? So I kept going. So this is the Oración del Hamdu, and then here's I found the Kulhua. I actually found it. Here we go. This is Al-Falaki, and this is the Falaki. You guys know the Falaki? Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq. This is la Oración del Falaki, right? Right here. And ahí está. La Oración de Qul huwa Allahu ahadum. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Here we go. Right here. Do you see this? الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. ¿Qué quiere decir? Again, they translate what it is with tajweed. Dios es uno. Solo Dios es preciosísimo. No engendra y han engendrado ni tiene semejante. Este es el Alcorán, libro 4, capítulo 48. That's deep. This is Breviario Sunni. 1650s. New Spain. Not Spain, New Spain. In Spanish. Teaching people Islam. I'm going to ask you this. You be me. Is this written by Muslim? Is the writer Muslim? Yes. Is it written for Muslim? By Muslim? For Muslim? It must be. Who else needs this? I mean, who else, unless you need to pray, right? You need this to pray or something? right? So I cataloged this into the by Muslim for Muslim. And then other people disagreed. They said, no, no, no. This is the church, again, trying to hunt down the Muslims to see what they do. This is not a document. This is not by Muslim for Muslim. No, no, no. This is written by the church to find the Muslims. I said, why would the church write this? You know, Arabic, and it doesn't make sense, right? Why would it be? So I'm comparing it now to 3 other Breviario Sunnis in Spain. So the Breviario, what is Breviario? Breviario is like a book of dua. You know the collection of du'as that we have, like El Fortalecimiento del Musulmán or Du'a el Mustajab, or you know those books? Same concept, right? One of those books that is for du'a, but this one also tells you how to practice Islam in Spanish language. What is fasting, what's Ramadan, all the things that I was sharing with you, Ramadan and Guadoc and all these things are right here. Right here in this document. 148 pages, back and forth. What's interesting is the document is in between 2 other documents. It's hidden in 2 texts. So the early document is agriculture text, has nothing to do with this. So if someone catches you with a book and they ask you to open the book, you can actually open and show them nonsense. Because this one is in the middle of those 2 books. So it's an actual book. I don't know how I found it. I'm telling you, I don't even know how I found it. I put these words Guadoc and all that stuff, and then this guy jumped in. I put the word Sunni. I went Shia, Sunni. I went crazy in the archives. I was writing anything. It's like, I can't find Muslims. I might as well put everything. Everything under the sun is going to work. But then I put the word Sunni and Guadoc, and this thing comes up. Because I'm like searching, right? I can't. So when I found it and I did my tawaf, they were like asking me to leave. You know, you have to leave because the archives, you can't be. And then of course I wanted to take pictures, so I stood on the chair. Like, I can't take those pictures just regular. I decided to stand on the chair to take real. I'm not going to mess with this. I'm going to take the real. I can't believe I'm seeing this. So I'm going to take real pictures. I'm like, get down from the chair. It's illegal. Just get down. You can't do this. I lost it when I saw this. I was like, this is too good to be true. This is not possible. So I kept going, and I found in another archive. I kept searching. This is a beautiful archive in south of Mexico. I found something really interesting called Códice de Yahuintlán. So this is a book picture, a picture book, or códice. They just draw things because they are dealing with the natives. And so they were talking about the conquistadors, the people who came to conquest, and they were drawing them. So the one on the left with the hat, I get it. The beard, the hat, that's a Spanish guy, right? But this guy, Turco, I'm not sure how he landed there. I mean, you tell me he's not wearing a turban or not. Do you see a turban or do I see a turban? Is there a turban? Do you see a turban? Okay, and I don't know what they're doing with their fingers because they got 3 fingers up and they're doing something with their finger, and number 3 finger is really important. The guy on the right with the beard has the index finger of Shahada up and on his right hand. And on his left hand, he has 3. So is he talking about Trinity versus Islam monotheism? I'm not sure. But the guy on the left is touching number 3 and he's serious about the 3rd finger. Are you with me on the fingers? Okay, next page, this is El Turco, El Turbante. The next page, everybody's got the finger. If you're Muslim, you see what I see. If you're Muslim, you understand what I understood. Do you see the guy behind the chair sticking out his finger? Right hand, left hand? Right hand. Why the Shahada finger is so long? Like, also it's long, right? Do you agree? Do you agree? It's not exactly it's not supposed to be that long. And then the other guys in front of him are agreeing with him. Yes, we got that finger up too. We're with you, right? And then there's 33 beads in that tasbih. But then something else, you get the snake. So this is a Mesoamerican thing. This is not from Spain. This is done in New Spain. So right here, you see the snake, you see the pattern? This is a local pattern, not a Spanish pattern. But then you get the finger, 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 and finger. I've yet to explain it. This is one of my, I need to go and dig harder and make sense out of it. But do I have a right to at least like take a picture of it? Yeah, right? This is something that caught my attention. Same archive that I just showed you, 4 copies of Lex. Lex is Latin for law. Lex Evangelica contra al Coranum. So now we got evangelical law against the Quran, verse by verse attacking the Quran in what year? In 1698. So my question is, who cares about the Quran in 1698? And why are we so interested in creating Lex 1 and Lex 2 and Lex 3 and Lex 4? So of course I asked them in the archives, what's going on with Lex here? I mean, who's really doing this stuff? Who's reading this? For who? Why are you interested to defeat the Quran verse by verse? Well, they said, well, every Lex belongs to a different religious order. One belongs to the Franciscanos, and one belongs to the Jesuitas, and one belongs to the Carmelitas, and everybody's got their own Lex. Why? They don't exist, right? The extended stay ended. I'm still trying to prove that. I'm still trying to believe that, right? So here we go, the year. I boxed it so that you can actually be with me. Something that I found, and I was so thrilled, but my happiness did not go that far. I found this, and it was an entire Quran on a snake skin. And I also found this, which is like a coin-sized Quran. I actually thought, and I don't know, I asked them about the acquisition of those, and I thought they were Qurans. I had a theory about it. I said, either the church confiscated it from somebody, or the church had it, or they brought it from Spain, or they produced it in New Spain, or I don't know what's going on. But apparently through the archives, because we don't have information, everything is anonymous and without date and everything, but that it was a later acquisition from Lebanon. The fact that I found it, I'm gonna go find more. You know what I mean? Like now I'm on a hunt. I'm gonna hunt them where I find them. You know, I wanna find the next one. So now I was shocked. What, Islam in Mexico? You better be kidding me, right? This is not acceptable. It was forbidden to cross between 1570 and 1820 for people or books. The religion was gone. The people are gone. You know, they hunted them, they killed them, there's Inquisition, there's expulsion, there's all that stuff happened. There's no way they exist. And there's all these religious orders, which is also another interesting fact. Why did they create all these religious orders? Why? You know, Jesuitas, Carmelitas, Franciscanos, well, all these religious orders. So I began digging in religious orders. Because again, when I found the stamp on Lex belonging to every religious order, I said, I need to understand the difference between those religious orders. I'm still working on it. This is my research. Then I looked at also Inquisition for cases of polygamy and bigamy. Bigamia y poligamia. There's a lot of them. The guy has a wife in Guadalajara, another wife in Puebla. And he's being enjuiciado for having 2 wives. Hey, she says he's my husband, this other one, he's also my husband. Wait, and the neighbor says we saw the guy in the neighborhood. No. We saw this guy in the neighborhood. Wait, is this Doña Inés or Doña Maria? Which one is it? Or both? Oh, is it both? Then get over here, you know? And these were like cases handled, you know. Something else that I also found in Mexico City, and I could not expect, not in my wildest dreams, is Libros Plumbios del Sacromonte. In a place called Seminario Conciliar, which is where they train priests to become priests. So where they train priests to become priests, Libros Plumbios are the books that were falsified in Spain, Islamizing Christianity. So that basically in those books, Jesus is a prophet, the salvation is through good deeds, and there's no Trinity. Those books are present in Mexico City in El Seminario Conciliar, where you train the priests. I asked the priests, why do you guys have Libros Plumbios del Sacromonte? He's like, I don't know, you tell me. I was like, no, you tell me. I need you to explain to me why you own those documents. And they're not in Granada, Sacromonte, where the Pope declared those books to be false Bibles. They were burned. Because the Pope, 100 years after they were made in Granada. Like they decided, you know what, no problem. We're just going to cook a book in the church. We're going to make a Quran Bible. Like, you know, we're going to make a Bible Quran or a Quran Bible, one of those two. And nobody's going to know the difference, and we're going to... So the way they did it is they said, somebody had a dream that they found a Bible from the 1st century Jesus. And they found it in this mountain called Sacromonte. So we're going to climb up. The book is made on 2 plates of silver. That's why it's called plomo, right? So we're going to go up and we're going to dig. And they dug. Hallelujah. They found it. No way. That's it. This is the book. This is our book. This is our Bible. We own it. And we're going to follow it. Good deeds is the way to heaven. There's no more confession. No more that stuff. We're doing good deeds all the way. This is it. Jesus is not God. He is a prophet. And we're going all the way. Well, the Pope says, wait a minute. I mean, look at these books. Oh, these books are man-made. These are, you guys cooked it in your, in your kitchen. This is made at home. Somebody cooked it. So guess what? They're false, and I declare them heretics, and whoever follows this is wrong. That's nice. That's Spain. Well, now in New Spain, they exist. So you tell me why. Why we have false Bibles that talk about monotheism in New Spain? They're Bibles, like I'm telling you, I'm calling them Islamization, what would they call it? Islam Cristianizado. So Islam Christianized. I'm going to call it a Bible. I'm not going to call it El Al-Quran. But the content is El Al-Quran. So you call it Bible, I call it Bible, but I follow my religion of Islam. But it's called the Bible. Oh my God. So I started thinking, they infiltrated the church. This can't be true. Muslims infiltrated the church. They became priests. This cannot be true. This is wild. And I started chasing that theory. Is it possible that they went inside to protect the people from within? Because, wait, who's going to question the priest? Who's going to go to the priest and say, hey, you're not a good priest? You know what? I suspect you're a crypto Jew or a crypto Muslim. You know what? I don't think you're really a priest. Well, I'm the one teaching in the church. I'm the highest authority. The best cover in Spain and New Spain is to be a priest or a nun. You want to pass, you want no one to question who you are, and you want to be who you want to be, join them. You can't fight them, join them. And you make the books from inside. It's beyond. Is this real? Is this real? I sat like you, shocked, in the Seminario Conciliar, talking to the priest. Yes. This is New Spain. The book of Barnabé, right? Barnabas. Yes. Yes. People said that the Gospel of Barnabas was made by by Spanish Muslims. They're the ones who wrote the Bible of the Gospel. There's a theory and there's research done on it. Did the Bible of Barnabas get written by Spanish Muslims to tell the story of Christianity through the Muslim eyes? Basically, what I was just telling you, Islamizing Christianity. Kind of like calling the saint of Portugal La Santa Fatima. Why would the daughter of Prophet Muhammad be the one protecting Portugal? Why would the daughter of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam be the protector of Portugal? You tell me. I think that's Islamizing Christianity or Christianizing Islam. I'm not sure what it is. It's one of those two. It's either Christianizing Islam or Islamizing. One of those. I get lost in my own terminology. I get lost in my translation. It's too wild for me to comprehend. That's why I am researching and I can't stop researching. When I get more, I'll let you know. But this is what I'm hunting. I am actually looking inside the churches. Right now, this is where I'm hunting. I'm going inside churches to find documents. When I find church acquisition church acquired documents, these become my first top interest. Because I used to discard them. Oh, this is from the church. Like, oh, this is not going to say anything. It's the opposite. It's from the church. It's going to have everything. It's going to have everything I want. It's going to be right here, you know? So I don't have proof, but I have theory. And I'm out to see if that theory is going to take me somewhere. So before I finish, I think I'm out with time. I have a few more slides. I want to remind you of where I began. I want to remind you of two things. The first one is the dua of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam for the offspring, وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِهِ, and the powerful message of وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِهِ, and what could it mean, right? That's the first thing. And number two, I want you to think about when you can't change something with your outside, you can't speak up against it. Who says that you can't do this as a form of resistance? Who are we to judge? If people, at the end of the day, the relationship is with God. Who are we to judge? Are they good Muslims or not good Muslims? Are really following? Wait, would they prefer to be refugees in some Muslim land or go disappear in America and nobody knows who they are and they carry the sadness of losing home? Because they're dealing with a lot and nobody's helping them, right? Like there's no help. So who's to say that it's not legitimized to take off and start new life in a new world and be lost in this new place? Who's to say that this is not legit? Like, who's to say that this is not okay as a Muslim to do that? Why not? أَلَا إِنَّ أَرْضُ اللَّهِ وَاسِعَةٌ. Why wouldn't they follow that? The land of Allah is wide. Go, even if your name is now Juan Perez, or I'm going to talk about names. This is one of my... So I want to finish. I don't know if you have time, but maybe 10, 15 more minutes. That would be perfect if you allow me. So today we showed many things. I showed you empires in dialogue, people who are talking from east, from west, from different parts. Politically, how they were dialoguing, culturally, linguistically, business, commerce, religion. I showed you everything. Showed you the whole 9 yards, right? But there's also a pretext that they can't coexist. East and west, they clash. As though Islam is not compatible with the West, right? It's not a Western thing. Doesn't fit in the Western civilization, right? Based on judgment, constructed, propagated, that impede dialogue and closes the channel of human interaction. Like oil and water don't mix, that kind of concept, right? But and also the over-Orientalism of the images they show. Oh, this is how they show the Muslim world. Or even more, the continuation of what I was just telling you with colonialism. Like, who's to say that the fall of the Ottoman Empire is not a continuation of this story that I was just sharing? Just in a different form. Kind of like split, divide, create borders, and then new borders, and then new borders, and new borders. Why not? We can draw the map however we want. Imperialism, colonialism, however you want to call it. Split the Ottoman Empire, no? So the creation of nation state, that concept of creation of nation state, also happened in Latin America. So it's very interesting that Latin America and the Arab world are a mirror of each other. You would think that Latin America, speaking the same language, the majority are Catholic, this would be the place, the hub for uniting, having one. The big dream of Simón Bolívar, right? Simón Bolívar, he really wanted, right, the Libertador. He said, you know what, we're doing this. He was the George Washington of the time. I'm going to do this. I'm going to unite the states of Spanish-speaking world. But no, his dream ended. Simón Bolívar didn't get anywhere, right? Oh, he tried. Yeah, I admire him. He's actually one of my favorites. I admire him. Because he had the mission, he had the vision. But also Simón Bolívar, I don't know if you know, you're from Venezuela, had the Quran on him in his pocket. Did you know that? I've yet to go and find that. And still, this is part of my research. I hear these things and I really want to prove them. It's nice to hear something, but then you just go and do that research and you really find out if really had the Quran in his pocket. Did he really believe in uniting people? Did he have a mission and a vision? What's his... where did it come from? But you would think that Latin America would be able to unite and have its resources together and be a superpower, just like the Arab world would be put your hands together and be a superpower with all your resources, human resources, natural resources, etc. But no, this one is split, this one is split. Resources are, there's power, resources, issues, right? Classism, racism, all the isms, you'll find them there. Every ism out there is there. Dictatorship, you name it. Same policy, style of, Again, I'm not here to talk about politics, I'm sorry. I was here to talk about linguistics and other things. But only when you decolonize those encounters between empires, you realize that we inherited a discourse that the colonizer gave us. And the image painted by the conqueror came from this white, male, Christian, Eurocentric perspective. So unless we wake up and start seeing Latin America, Arab world, all the periphery, all the non-Europe, okay, let's call it the non-white Europe. Unless we all wakey and start realizing that there's another reality told from a different side, like the truth is somewhere in between, like it's not exactly this and it's not, and we start decolonizing ourselves first and then our vision of things, we won't be able to understand what happened or what does it mean, right? So one thing I wanted to share with you just before we end is the interesting concept of the language, what I started with. I began with this and I want to take you back to it. I didn't want to start with a boring list, but I end with a boring list. So the words that come from Arabic are too many, like alcoba, aceitunas, aceite, zanahoria, nuria, taza, arroz, jarra, azúcar, almohada, alfombra. And then you have clothing, pantalones, camisas, zapatos, calcetines, calzado, mandil, calzones, ojalá, words like ojalá, right? And then these are just words. You can go down the list. Then you can do places and people. You can also do names, right? Proper names. So if you go to places, Guadalajara, Wadi al-Hijara, Guadalquivir, Wadi al-Kabir, Cádiz, Qadish, Gibraltar, Jabal Tariq, Almería, Almería, Córdoba, Córdoba, Jaén, Jayan, Granada, Granada, Madrid, Majriq, Algeciras, Al Jazeera, Tarifa, from Tarif, not from Tarif, the leader, right? Then names, proper names. You got Fatima, you got Omar, Alvarez, Alferez, Luna, Medina from Medina, Guzman, Uthman, Alvarado, right? All these names, Inez, Soraya, names, proper names. And then culturally, until today, actually, I'm not sure the sister's name, but she's sitting right here in front of me. She shared with me, and this is the moment to share it. She shared with me that she comes from the Dominican Republic, and they have a special dish called moros y cristianos, which is rice and beans. I answered her by saying this is the most racist dish you'll ever eat. This is the symbol of racism. Rice is the Christian, and beans are the moros, the Muslims. So again, you're eating a racist dish. So call it arroz con frijoles, and let's end it, right?
But the best part is that the rice is white, and the beans that they use is a black bean.
Black beans.
And then there's also a moro, which the beans and the rice are black.
Exactly. So moro is dark. You see, moro is the dark one, and arroz would be, if you're rice, you're the Christian, and if you're beans, you know why people eat a lot of beans now? There's a lot of stuff hidden about the beans. Let's not even go down the beans. But that's not me. That's really diet. I did not make up this thing. Yes. It doesn't have pork though. That's what's interesting, right? The rice doesn't have any ham in it. There is a famous fiesta called La Fiesta de Moros y Cristianos. It's many places they commemorate. In Granada, they commemorate the fall of Granada. In Sevilla, they commemorate the fall of Sevilla. And even in Mexico, they have it. They have it in different parts of the world where they dress up as Moro and they dress up as Cristiano and they fight each other on the street. They dance it, they fight it. The Moro falls to the ground. The Christian is ruling. Hallelujah, the Christian won. Again, we have to remember. It's kind of like, do not forget. You know the oral tradition of please don't forget? Like, I'll remind you forever and ever and ever and ever that this happened, and don't you ever, ever, ever forget that this happened. And we won, and we won, and we won, and we'll always remind you that we won. But then the dressing up as Moro and having people, look at this. It's a serious deal. This is not a joke. Look at those Moros with the star and a horse with a moon, you know, the hilal, like the crescent. Very interesting. And people from the window watching, and everybody's like, from the window having a cross. You see the crosses hanging around the window? Like, we support this thing. Like, we know what you guys are doing, and we're in it for the Cristianos, We're going to make sure they win this one. So, architecture. This is like, we can go on for hours, you guys. Architecture, I want to show you what they call Spanish-style colonial architecture. So, azulejos. These are some of the things that, are called Spanish, just quickly, because of time. Fuentes de agua. I was talking about the water fountains, remember? The shift from the, ending water access, or cleverly finding a substitute for losing something by substituting it by something that looks nice and chic and elegant and cute and functional, and I can get water right here in my patio. Tower minarets, these are the ones I was sharing with you that are transferred. If you look at the churches and cathedrals built in Latin America, they all have that shape. Nobody has circle towers. They all have the Umayyad, Damascus, Syria stamp. Everyone has it. It's very interesting. And 2 towers, and the ceilings, the wooden ceilings, the arches, and the sophistication of arches over time. This is a picture of how so this would be the Cordoba arches, they call it the horseshoe arches. And then we go into, this is the Umayyad, the copy of, this is the Great Mosque of Cordoba, would be the copy of, a replica of the Great Mosque of Damascus, except with the color. More again, the arches. Here's the Granada and the shift in work. And like it looks like stalactites, looks like it's falling from the cave, kind of water falling. Yeah, that shift derived from water. The shift in arches, I want you to appreciate how they look different over time as they modernize or as they pass. And then my favorite from northern Spain, from El Jafariya, and look at how this one looks. This looks like lace. This looks like somebody was like doing lace on arches, right? Like absolutely beautiful, right? This is Latin America now. Now we shift. We're going to have the arches. We're going to have the wooden ceilings. We're going to have the columns. We're going to have the patio. We're going to have the water. Same architecture. This is Chiapas, southern Mexico. Again, this is the water fountain for the town. Islamic, and it's called Mudéjar art, which is Islamic art. Architecture. Funny. When Mexico wanted to compete in the late 1800s for architecture contests in Paris, they did this to represent Mexican architecture. They did something called Pabellón Morisco, arches, and this was the typical representation of what Mexican architecture looks like in Paris in the 1800s. You want Mexican art? Here you go. Like, this is what you call Mexican? Like, seriously? Like, are you serious? Are you serious? So colonial architecture is really like that Spanish like they call it colonial from the colony, no? So when Spain was colonized, right? So colonial architecture is, again, the retaking of the Umayyad architecture. You see those little triangles here on top? These, very typical of like Islamic architecture, Last but not least, music with the Spanish guitar, right? Introduced by the Muslims, and conclusion. I think I'd like to end on a happy note. I like to end on a happy note. So number one, I shared with you that I personally feel like the dua of certain people must have been accepted, and those people coming to us, that we are not going, there's no like proselytismo or evangelization in Islam. We're not going grabbing people to make them Muslim. This is not happening, right? We don't go out there to grab them and make them Muslim. They come to us, and we just don't know what to do with it. Like, we're dealing with, I don't know what to do with you. You speak Spanish? How do I deal with this, Wait, do I need to have Quran in Spanish? Do I have a good translation, bad translation? I have a good one? What do you need? Have to learn wudu? Oh my God, I'm going to teach you wudu. Okay, here we go. What else do you need? Salah. What, that's going to take a long time. Hey, Fatiha, let's do this in Arabic. That's going to be a long exercise. Hey, wait, I need to learn Arabic to become Muslim? not really, just like the salah, you know, you just kind of like do it 5 times a day, you know what I mean? 5 times a day, you wake up, up, down, up, down. You have to explain all these things to people, right? But this is part of what I consider to be the positive side of that story, right? Why would you feel at home in this side? Why? If it's not something that can... And the other thing is, I don't like the victimization because it's not going to help us. Sitting down and woeing, oh, I'm so sorry, this happened to us. Oh, really? Yeah, that's so bad. And then calling people. This is history. There's no one here to stand up. This is not the day of judgment. You know, day of judgment, you can go and get your share from, you know, stand in front of Allah and get the, you know, you hurt me, I hurt you, I take from you, you take from me. You know, that kind of fair and square. This is life. This is, and we learn history and we have to move like forward, but we take the lessons that come from it. What did we learn from this? Or have we not learned anything and we just wanted to relive it all over again? Like, seriously. How many leaders have sold their people, but their people are still on track? Is the leader really it? How many people, how many times are we going to wait for leaders to be the ones making those decisions for us? You know, versus the people taking charge and making decisions for themselves. You know what I mean? Like how many were corrupt and sold their people? Does it sound familiar? You know? And then finally, Islam is not foreign to Latino culture, and it forms part of their DNA. I think it's really deep. And when I say DNA, I mean DNA. And I have friends who are doing the DNA test to actually see if they're, you know, have ancestry in, actually not kidding.
No kidding, yes.
There was a Spanish girl I met in the mosque, blonde, blue-eyed, and she like hated moros like there's no tomorrow. I mean, she's Spanish and she's white, so moros are the dark, you know what I mean, right? Moros y Cristina, inferior. She had a disease that was very unique and traced back to Damascus, Syria. They told her this is a very unique disease and it comes from Damascus. Like only people who are from that area have it. So DNA-wise, there's only way you got that disease is that you have ancestry in Damascus. She's like, excuse me? She talks to the doctor, she's like, are you talking to me? Did you look at my skin? Did you look at my eyes? I'm blonde, blue-eyed. I'm not Mora. You know what I mean? Like, don't talk to me like that. You know, don't insult me. So she decides to go to Syria. You know what? I'm going to go to Syria and check it out. So she goes to Syria, and everyone talks to her in Arabic. She looks like them. You know, they look like her. She looks like them. Because not all Moros, Moro is not a racial term, right? You got to wake up and find other Moros that have they come in all shapes and forms and colors. You know what I mean? This is the news that came to her. Of course, she's inheriting all that. The baggage from history of what Moro is, right? So finally, long story short, she becomes Muslim. From that illness that traced back her DNA to that if she comes from the Umayyads, she was the ruling class of Spain. And she comes from an island, Mallorca. So she thought like, there's no way I got anything in me, you know? But Banu Umayyah were ruling and maybe tracing back to the Prophet. There's one other girl that has the Mecca. Like she comes from she may be Quraysh or something, you know? I was like, what's going on here? Have you done your DNA to see where you trace yourself and how you can? So nothing is, we don't, judge by features or by looks. You could be having it a lot more deeper and internal than you can imagine. So when I'm talking about DNA, I actually mean it. Thank you for your time. Thank you, New Jersey, for having me here. Thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate it. And any questions, I'm here for you. Thank you.